Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
That's the familiar sound you hear coming from so many cars around Tampa Bay, but as of July 1st, if that sound is too loud, you could end up with a ticket.
It's my stereo. And if I want to play it loud, I'll play it loud.
The new law prohibits loud music that can be heard from 25 feet away, and if your music disturbs churches, schools, or hospitals, that too is now illegal.
It's not just going to affect people with loud stereos, it's going to affect everybody. Even a standard stereo can go over 25 feet if you turn the volume up too high.
I don't like it. I didn't like it when they implemented the first law. The second law is even worse.
And this is not the first time Florida tried to put a loud music law on the books. It happened back in 2012. That time around, the state's Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional.
I feel it's an infringement because a leaf blower is louder. If you're getting a roof done 2 doors down or the 2 streets over, you can hear the guy roofing. Lawnmowers are louder. I don't understand. I mean, I thought we would use our time and our talents a little bit better than implementing stereo laws.
You may want to turn up, but with this new law, you actually may want to turn down. In Palm Harbor, Peter Blake, CW44 News at 10.
Break from rising prices at the pump. Florida gas prices have been falling for the past month. The state average dropped 14 cents per gallon last week and is now down a total of 48 cents per gallon since mid-June.
And that's the words from AAA's Mark Jenkins. According to AAA, this time last year, gas prices were $2.96 a gallon.
30 minutes to and from work every day. So, the rising prices have definitely cut into my budget on being able to spend on other things. We just moved here from Kentucky, so it's a lot higher here than it was in Kentucky.
No, I moved here right before COVID happened in early 2020, and it was under $2 and cost $18 to fill my tank. Now it's close to $50.
How low should you expect it to go this summer?
Some really deep cuts in the price of oil last week. Oil did mount a bit of a comeback by the end of the week, but is now falling again this morning. So if this oil price downturn continues, then there's certainly a chance that gas prices here in Florida could dip below $4 a gallon by the end of the summer.
I would like to say yes because I'm a big believer history repeats itself, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon.
The customers are hoping that the decline in gas prices continue. On site from Pinellas County, Peter Blake for CW44 News at 10.
Merry Christmas. Say, I love football. Say this. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Tampa. Tampa. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Say Tampa.
Tampa.
Bay. Bay. Oh my God, she's so smart and she's so precious. I love her to death.
Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Where's Uncle Peter? I call him.
on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live on Amped Up Sports. I love St. Pete in the Hub. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Boy, it's been a long time since I've been on here, has it not? Hopefully I can do this like I always do, right? 3 things to start it off the show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Denis Phillips of ABC Action News talking about what else. It's the first day of training camp. Just saying. I mean, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk Bucs football. I'm ready to talk National Football League with you. I hope you're ready to talk about it. About 9:10, we'll have J.C. Allen of Pewter Report giving us the latest from Bucs training camp. And then after that, we will have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and, of course, Amped Up Sports at 9:30. And then your phone calls, as always. Did you guys forget me? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. We'll go out to the comments here. Rex Grossman says, first, I know you missed me. Pig Dog says, Peter, how insane was that Y2J Kingston barbed wire match? Am I wrong in thinking Jericho deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers? No, you're not crazy. In fact, I think he's one of the most underappreciated wrestlers of all time. So we could definitely talk wrestling because there's been a lot of things going on there, right? Vince McMahon is out.
Screw you! You're fired!
Yeah, he's done. He's done, ladies and gentlemen. Triple H is taking over. I kind of said that's what it should be. So we could talk some wrestling also, but predominantly tonight, the phone lines are open, and I don't want to hear this. Please, for the love of God, let's not hear crickets tonight. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are stacked up. How about that? Julio Jones. How about Kyle Rudolph? I mean, you guys got to be excited. I'm excited about this. Let's go back out to the comments here. Rex Grossman, welcome to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, Tampa Bay retirees. Of course, Rex Grossman doing what Rex Grossman does. Trolling, and that's what you get when you troll this show, of course. I love to troll you back. LFG Peter is back. Been a while. Congrats on the new job. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons. Yes, I miss you. But you know what? When you get a job like that, you got to focus in. You got to focus. You got to have laser focus. And that's exactly what I've been doing there with the CW44 Tampa Bay News Now, if you will. Dave goes, Bucs are stacked and back. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get him on. It's been a long time since we've heard from him. So let's see what he's got cooking. Here we go. That's not a tornado that is coming towards you. That is Mr. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Welcome to the evolution. And it's been a long time, my friend. How you doing?
Good, Peter. I'm looking at your Facebook page, and you've got a tie on. There's actually, you look at your picture, you've got like a nice little tie on. It looks like maybe even a jacket. I mean, you're doing reporter stuff now, right?
I am the new multi-skilled journalist, skilled being used loosely, if you will, with some people saying some things in the past of CW44. So it has been.
Now, are you an MMJ? Are you?
Yeah.
Are you? So for the folks at home who aren't familiar with an MMJ is, it's a multimedia journalist. Back in the day, for us old people, it was called a one-man band because it was the person who pretty much goes out and does everything. You know, they record their own stuff. In fact, you can always tell when you're watching a story with a one-man band because what happens is they lock the shot down, you run around and you stand in front of the camera, and there's no camera movement at all because there's no one to run the camera. So
that's what people don't understand about it. They're like, oh, you got a cameraman, you got an editor, it's easy. All you got to do is get in front of the camera. Wrong. No, that's absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, that's not the way it is. I mean, you know, and for a period of time, the business, they were even saying it's going to turn into an MMJ entirely. It isn't. but it's a great skill to have. So congratulations again on the position. That's awesome.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's been, a lot of hard work put into it, a lot of years of doing shows, and finally just to realize your dream at the end of the day is just amazing. But I miss this. I miss talking to you. And goodness gracious, we have lots of things to talk about. I mean, where do we start? Buccaneers getting Kyle Rudolph. Let's start there. Once again, welcome to the Sports Web.
Don't care. Thanks. But, Kyle Rudolph, I loved him when he was with the Vikings. He was one of those guys that for a period of time, I mean, he really was supposed to be the guy. But, you gotta still think that Cameron Brate is probably going to end up being the turn two guy for Tom Brady. I mean, now that Gronk is gone probably for forever. I don't know. I mean, is the tight end position really going to be all that important in the long run anyway, when you've got the receiving core you have, and if Fournette, and by the way, for the record, I don't know, man, the more I hear about it, the more I think Rachaad White could very easily turn in to be the guy, if Fournette gets hurt, which, he's been known to do from time to time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the reason why you draft the running back from Arizona State in the 3rd round, who, by the way, we were there, Amped Up Sports, to cover it on draft night. And I asked him, what did you think about the comparison by your former coach and Herman Edwards? You play to win the game, and he compared him to Marcus Allen. And if you turn on the tape, you can definitely see the young man. He has flashes of brilliance. He definitely looks a little bit like Marcus Allen. He actually prefers Le'Veon Bell.
Well, boy, that's a big difference if you think about it, because, I mean, Le'Veon Bell was that guy who just waited for the blocks to open up, just wait, and then finally go on in. Marcus Allen, I mean, I think a lot of people, maybe before the time of some of the viewers here, but I mean, a lot of folks remember Marcus Allen in the Super Bowl and that one run that he was running all over the place like in a bumper pool table all over before he ended up scoring. So I don't know. I'm more inclined to agree with the Marcus Allen comparison than the Le'Veon Bell. And Le'Veon, by the way, Le'Veon Bell's a boxer now anyway. So what difference does it make?
That's actually been postponed until September. Him and Adrian Peterson, by the way. Any interest at all? I mean, I know you don't care about Kyle Rudolph, but do you care about Le'Veon Bell and Adrian Peterson going at it?
And I kind of do.
And if your money's on somebody, Denis, at the end of the day, who are you taking? You taking Bell or Peterson? I tell you right now, I'm not going to mess with Peterson. I've heard about the man's grip, and we know about his past all day, every day, Adrian Peterson. So who are you taking?
We're talking about a boxing match between AP and Le'Veon Bell. I don't know, but I would watch it. I tell you, I would. But then it's like you watch Jake Paul too.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I mean, there's just something there that you want to watch. So, and again, I don't, no disrespect meant to Kyle Rudolph at all. I just don't think he's an important piece of the puzzle. Right. I just don't, and I had him on many fantasy football teams over the years, by the way. And I really thought in Minnesota, he had potential to become a superstar. Never quite got there, but the depth doesn't hurt. But again, I think we're not going to be worrying about a number 2 or number 3 tight end at the end of the day if this team is going to be a winning team.
Well, absolutely, and I think he is a big part of it, because I believe the Bucs and this organization in general, Tom Brady, thought that Gronkowski was going to come back. How surprised were you that he's come out and made those comments? Basically, I'm retired. And do you think he might once again change his mind and come back? If the Bucs have an injury in that tight end room, or they're in contention, of course, not only for the NFC South, but possibly a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people keep saying that. They know more about it than I do. He seems happy enough, but you know what? If it's midway through the season and the Bucs are 7-1 or 8-0 or whatever the case may be, I'm not saying that's a prediction, but if and all of a sudden they might think, I don't know, maybe he'd want to join in. I have no idea. I'm not the person to ask on tight ends, because I thought O.J. Howard was going to be a superstar, and you see how that went. So,
all right, I tell you what, let's go back out to the comments here, because I don't want to neglect the web heads. Let's go out to Facebook user. Don't know who that is, but welcome back. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Your favorite web head here, Rex Grossman. Leave your job, focus on the sports web, and this is what you get.
Shitter!
Thank you, Denis. The #1 news station on Tampa Bay, Fox 13. Yeah, so happy for you, Peter H. Blake. Congrats. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you. Let me fire the Ric Flair there. All right, Gronk. Yes, Gronk. We're talking about Gronk. David says, I still feel like Gronkowski coming back with all these tight ends and wide receivers. They were signing, and 87 is still open. I still think that he's going to get that itch eventually, that a lot of the things he's doing off the field. And, you know, at the end of the day, I also think it comes down to Denis that he doesn't want to go through training camp, doesn't want to deal with putting his body through the rigmarole, if you will. So I definitely think it's open. But for me, Rudolph is a big time piece, in my opinion, because he's really never had a quarterback. I mean, you talk about him in fantasy football, quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins is okay, but everybody else, mediocre, nothing like Tom Brady. And as much as a tight end is a part of this offense, I think Rudolph could have some big-time numbers this year, believe it or not. Can't wait to see Jones in practice, but I hope Mike is still getting his catches. AP will destroy Bell. Peter pulls for Jake Paul every time. You better believe that right there. That says it all. Rex Grossman says, so what happened to Richard Sherman? Bucs just love blowing money out of their butts. Ralph says, if the money is right, Gronk will be back. And Rex Grossman, Bucs also want to bring back Safarian Jenkins. No, they not. No, they don't. Fake news.
Shitter!
All right. Yesterday, the Bucs signed Julio Jones to a 1-year, $6 million deal. Could go all the way up to $8 million. How surprised were you of that? And is that an indication, even though Chris Godwin has been cleared, that possibly he won't start the season 100%?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, really interesting sign. I mean, what's the downside, right? You've got Gage. By the way, it might be better news for Russell Gage in terms of fantasy because, I kind of looked at him, obviously, as the number 3 that might get a lot of play. And now all of a sudden with Julio Jones in there, people are saying, oh, well, that might take away some of his targets. Look, Julio Jones, stud, one of the better receivers in the last 10, 15 years. But the guy pulls his hamstring the last couple of years constantly. He's constantly got hamstring issues. Now, it's an interesting question because if he was with the Bucs and he was with a winning team, would he, again, I'm not making any kind of an accusation or I'm just throwing it out. I'm curious.
Sure.
Does he play through some of those injuries with a 7-1 or a 7-2 Bucs team as opposed to a Falcons team, where they were going nowhere and there was really no need for him to push himself and to push additional injury? Now with the Titans last year, same thing. I mean, he just didn't do anything because he's 33, right?
Yeah, 33 years old. Yeah,
he's 33. He's getting up there. The guy, he's a big target, and it'll be. I think it's a smart move. Why not? Why not add a little depth if you could? I mean, but it's a 1-year contract, so clearly nobody was beating down his door. A lot of folks thought he was going to retire, and turns out that. Boy, didn't we have the same conversation with Antonio Brown prior to the meltdown?
Yeah.
That, a lot of people were like, oh, why would he go that? Well, you know what? He turned out to be a really serviceable receiver for a period of time until everything fell apart. So I think if he stays healthy, I don't think he will, but I think if he stays healthy, then why not? I mean, what's the downside? It's a 1-year contract, right?
Well, and then also I think it's an indictment, if you will, on the receivers on this team. A Tyler Johnson hasn't necessarily developed fast enough. A Scotty Miller can't stay healthy. You have a Jalen Darden who is being talked about a lot. You have a Sorrell Grayson who's being talked about a lot, showed some flashes of brilliance last year. Tell you what, want to read this comment really quick, and then we'll get out to JC Allen of Pewter Report. Don't know if you've ever talked to him before, but he'll give us the latest out at Bucs training camp. Peter and Denis, are the Rays done? Do they just have too many injuries to make a run in the AL? When do we start wondering about Wander and being injury prone? Great question, as always, Pig Dog. 17th injury now with Matt Whistler going on the, is it the IL list now? And then Kiermaier has been ruled out for the year. And then, of course, Mike
Zunino.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty bad year when it comes to injuries. And then the Wander question, go.
Yeah, I think it's way premature to say that somebody's injury prone in their rookie year. You don't know. And I think it's very different than football. Like a Saquon Barkley, who you could say has been injury prone in his first several years of his career. I just think it's way too early with Wander. But You know, there's more wild card pops out there. There's more positions for them, so they certainly could sneak in. Obviously, nobody's going to catch the Yankees, but sure, I think they could make the playoffs. Why not? But I will tell you, and I'm not the guy who blame injuries because I think that's just always an excuse.
Sure.
You know, everybody has injuries. Everybody has injuries. But the Rays' injuries this year have been pretty unbelievable. I mean, they have just decimated that team. And you didn't have a lot of significant talent depth anyway. I mean, you know, it just didn't. That's the way the Rays have to play. So do I think that they could make the playoffs? Yeah, I think they could sneak in. Do I think they're going to go anywhere? Nope. No, I don't. Their pitching has not been as dominant as they hoped.
Yeah.
And they've had issues with keeping guys on the field. But I don't think, Wander, I think it's way too early to say the guy's injury prone. Give it a couple of seasons and see how it plays out. This is my opinion.
I think what fans look at is Denis. He got this big contract. He hasn't been able to play a lot this year because he's had some lingering injuries. But you're exactly right. I mean, he's young. He's your future. He's your franchise player. Let's give it some time. Hopefully this doesn't continue throughout his career. Tell you what, let's go out to this guy right here. Let's go ahead and get him some walk-up music on. I think he'll like this. All right, let's go out to J.C. Allen of Pewter Report. Give us the latest, my friend. Welcome to the evolution. I know you're working hard on this. Julio Jones, Kyle Rudolph, and first day of Bucs training camp. Welcome.
Hey, happy to be here. Dennis, good to see you again. Peter, as always, pleasure to be here. Yeah, I mean, first off, Kyle Rudolph was a great signing. They needed a tight end with some veteran experience in there. We only had Cam Brate, and then you had a bunch of rookies. Cade Otton obviously coming back, medically cleared right before training camp, but coming from an ankle injury. Cope keeps more of a blocking tight end, but did show impressive hands during offseason work. And then you had 2 undrafted free agents with Cody Mcelroy being waived with an injury settlement that opened up a spot as well. And again, he only had 1 career reception for 30 yards. So getting a guy of Kyle Rudolph's ilk, who is a accomplished blocker and also a nice red zone threat and can still do some stuff in the passing game. Remember, you know, he had a down season last year with the Giants with Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones was injured part of the season as well. They really didn't seem like they had a solid direction last year with the Giants. And then he had like 10 quarterbacks, including like Sam Bradford and Christian Ponder with Minnesota. He still put up numbers there though as well. Besides those later seasons when Thielen and Diggs started really being a focal point of that offense. I think it's a great position, that he's been put in to be able to contribute on the team in different looks. Obviously, you know, if you want to go 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, he's more of that blocking guy while Brate's more the receiver. You can also put him out there and use him as a receiving threat, especially in the red zone. Julio Jones it's still weird to say Julio, even though I wrote about it and I speculated about it, it's still weird to say Julio Jones is a member of the Buccaneers as of now. I think when you're looking at Julio, he provides so much more than just, you know, insurance in case there's injury. He provides another weapon for Tom and Byron to use on offense. And literally, if he's on the field, and whether it's 4 wide or even the 3 wide outs, he opens up so much because players still respect and have to respect Julio's ability. Of course, a lot of that's going to depend on health, but as he, for the first time in his career, he's not asked to be the number 1. He's not asked to be the number 2. He's been the number 3, number 4 guy on any given play. And it's going to open up so much more for everybody on offense. I mean, just think about it. If you have a 4 wide outs and a running back there, it opens up so much for the running back, whether they're running the ball or whether they're being flexed out or being utilized out of the backfield as a pass catcher. Because what they've done this season on the offense is you've got a road grader in Ryan Jensen, you got a road grader in Tristan Wirfs, and Shaq Barrett's probably a top 3, definitely a top 5 run blocker as a guard in the league. And you know, Donovan Smith, and we know whichever player wins that left guard, they're better as a run blocker than they are as a pass blocker. So it opens up so much for them to be able to run the ball, be able to pass the ball, be able to get single coverage and spread the ball around to other players. So the Julio Jones signing is huge. And at $6 million a year, he's definitely going to see plenty of snaps as well.
All right, let me go out to you, Denis. From a fantasy standpoint, is Julio Jones, in your opinion, a dark horse simply because of what Josh just put out there, the other 3 wide receivers, and then on top of it, having a Tom Brady?
If he's healthy. I mean, that's the key to everything. And the last 2 years, he hasn't been. I mean, the last 2 years, he's been on the field less than half the time, less than half the games, and he's had some real hamstring issues. And you wonder if it's a recurrent issue, if it's just going to continue. I'll throw it out there again. I wonder if he was playing for a team that was in a playoff fight, if he maybe would have played through some of those injuries as opposed to on a team that had 2 or 3 wins. And, maybe at that point, he doesn't feel quite the pressure to get out on the field and to play at 80% or 70%. So, I don't know. I think, sure, it's a no-brainer. If you can get him, why not add some depth to it? But I think at 33 years old, his injuries the last few years just cannot be ignored.
Actually, I don't think there's much fantasy relevance with him. I think Russell Gage had some fantasy relevance, but now bringing Julio in, I think you're really only going to draft Godwin and Evans. And as far as the hamstring injuries, I completely understand what you're saying. I mean, the Titans did finish with the top seed in the AFC last year, but if you look at the Bucs, what was one thing that we always harped on Mike Evans for before the 2020 season? Hamstrings, right? Hamstrings. He was known to get hamstring injuries. The Bucs have now one of the best sports sciences departments in the league to help them prevent hamstring injuries and soft tissue injuries in general. And I mean, if he gets on that TB12 Alex Guerrero type pliability deal, I think that could help him as well. You're also not asking him to be out there for 50 snaps a game. He's going to see 25 snaps a game. And I think that's going to put less pressure on him as well. So I think that he's got a good shot of remaining healthy. He said today that he's 100%. There's no lingering effects. He's ready to go. It's just more about getting the install, learning the playbook and going out there. He's got no problem going out there, running and cutting and being able to move like he knows how. Has he lost a step? Well, that's possible. He is 33. He's not the Julio Jones straight out of Bama that he once was. But I think the sky's the limit for him as far as what his role could be. 40, 50, balls for 500, 600 yards, I don't think is out of the realm of possibility for him. But again, it's more of a matchup week to week base, not someone that you're going to want to draft and start on any given Sunday, I don't think, unless there's injuries to the position. But he also protects against that. So, I mean, maybe he's a stash guy, but I think Julio does allow this Bucs team to keep everybody fresher by rotating with a bona fide guy like Julio on the outside and who's got the flexibility to play in the slot and is a capable blocker. And it's just a great addition to an already stacked team. The question mark now becomes what happens at the 5th, 6th, and potentially 7th spot.
I want to go out to Denis. Who do you think is possibly the guy that's the odd man out in that room? Is it a Tyler Johnson? Is it a Scotty Miller? Is it a Grayson? I think Grayson showed a lot more than Miller and, of course, Tyler Johnson. So who do you see being the odd man out possibly here?
I mean, I get it. They're different kind of players, but the end result is we're still talking the number 4, number 5 receiver. And I think at the end of the day, this, as JC said, this team is stacked offensively, at least at the receiver side. I think that's almost something that's probably just going to be meaningless to a lot of folks. My question to JC is do you think the offense is going to be run any different this year with Bruce Arians gone? Do you think they'll be trying to run the ball more, or do you think they're going to stick with pretty much the same attack that they had last year?
Great question, JC. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the emphasis, and Todd Bowles said that, is trying to balance it out more. Now, again, they're going to do what they have to do to win the game. If they can keep that balance and keep Brady, you don't want him throwing 60, 70 times a game. So if you can keep that balance, then that's the goal, right? But if they got to throw it to win the game, they're going to throw it to win the game. But I did see, even in training camp, they had a concentrated effort to try to get some runs going. Again, it's different because the line's not wearing pads. The defense is not really no one's wearing pads. So we're not really seeing a full bore what it could look like. But I think they will try to run the ball. And I think even with a guy like Julio Jones and with the team constructed, it does open up more opportunities for the run game and more if you're in dime, Julio Jones said they expect a lot more zone. If they got 4 wide receivers out and Leonard Fournette or Rashad White or someone in the backfield like that, now they're getting a mismatch. The offensive line is one of the best in the league, especially again, as I mentioned, run blocking. They're going to open up some big holes and allow some big 8, 9, 10-yard gains, and that's going to allow them to be a little bit more balanced out in the run game. It also comes down in the past few years. Byron's been a little bit predictable with his run calls, so we'll have to see how that changes as well. But I think they will try to run the ball more for sure, just because it is a long season. It's 17 game season plus 3 to 4 playoff games. If you make the Super Bowl, you're going to want to keep Brady's arm feeling nice and healthy, and also you're going to want to put less onus on the receivers running routes against air. You're going to want them to go out there and be able to not take a play off, but have a little bit of a breather here and there rather than the ball 70 times a game.
All right, I tell you what, let's get back to that running game because Denis has talked about it. He feels like White could challenge definitely Leonard Fournette. Let's see what you learned today, JC, but let's go out to this comment here from David. I understand we got Jones to help us out. Why Chris Godwin's out? I just wish I could see a highlight of Julio Jones that wasn't back in 2018. I like to see something recent for me to get excited. Dave says Jones is insurance. Look at last season. If Chris was healthy along with Wirfs, we would have beat the Rams. Alabama players don't work out in Tampa, says Rex Grossman. Dave says Super Bowl. I like it, Dave. AB walks right out of another contract with the Bucs. Could have had another 2 years for sure. Absolutely. Good for AB, by the way. How's that? Yeah, exactly. Because he's the greatest rapper of all time. Said no one ever. God. Hey, what's up, everyone? Says Christopher Cole. Do both of the rookie tight ends make the team? Thoughts? We'll get back to that in a moment. Christopher says we might keep 7 wide receivers at the most. So who's the next 3 guys? Rob, Shooter, and Stash there, the evolution. Appreciate you as always. And what is the Bucs' weakness going into the season? We'll get back to those questions in a moment. Let's go out to the running game here. Denis, you talked about it. Leonard Fournette. I know you haven't been a guy that's drafted Buccaneer running backs before, but are you buying Leonard Fournette, or like you said, are you buying White? Why or why not?
The thing about Fournette is, and from a fantasy perspective, is I think he had 69 receptions last year and 84 targets. So, I mean, if you're playing in a PPR league, that could be pretty beneficial. So, whether or not Fournette is going to be anything close to the guy that he used to be, and I'm not talking about playoff Lenny, I'm talking about even prior to that, because remember, he was having some serious injury problems even back in Jacksonville when he had that bad foot issue. But I think at the end of the day, with Ronald Jones no longer in the mix, and you wonder if Rashad White might be a year away from my guess is next season, Rashad White is the number 1 running back in Tampa Bay. It's just what I think is the way it's going to play out, because Fournette's getting up there, and running back life these days it isn't there. But using him as a receiving back, like I said, so many receptions last year, that's a great fantasy perspective. Am I going to be drafting Leonard Fournette? No. But unlike last year when I said I will never own a Tampa Bay Bucs running back on my fantasy roster, I can understand or at least accept the argument that, in a PPR league, he might be not bad.
All right, let's go out to JC. I mean, much was made about Mr. Lombardi Lenny there and his weight. What have you learned, and what have you learned from Todd Bowles? What did he have to say about his lead running back today?
Lay looked great. I mean, he looked slimmed down. He looked quick in and out of his breaks. No issues catching the ball. No issues running the ball. After practice, Todd Bowles said that he's ready to go now. He could start if we were starting a game right now in week 1. I don't have no issues with Lenny. I think the whole thing was overblown. Florio's going to Florio. 260 pounds was just an aberration. He was a little bit heavier. But, I mean, I lost a few pounds today at training camp. That's how hot it was. I wasn't even running. So any weight that he does need to leave, the report came out by Doug Keed from PFF that he was, or PFN, I'm not sure, apologize, that he was around 245. He played last year around 240. So I mean that weight's going to fall off. And Tubbo said we don't want you coming in, in at your target weight because you're going to lose that weight, and then you got to put it back on. So I think he's in a perfect position. Leonard Fournette almost had 1,000 yards last year as a runner. Obviously missed some time towards the end of the season. Keyshawn Vaughn stepped in, performed pretty well. As you mentioned, the receptions, the targets. I think he's got a firm hold on the number one job this year. But Rachaad White is going to be versatile and used in a variety of ways. I think Keyshawn Vaughn. This running back room is pretty stacked. The problem is they're going to have trouble getting all the guys on the field and getting them reps. But again, I think we might see something closer to what we saw in 2020 where, was it Lenny, was it Rojo? But this time it's going to be Lenny, but we want to keep him fresh. We want him to get his 1,000 yards. We want him to get his touches, his receptions. But at the same time, we need to keep everybody fresh because we know what the ultimate goal here is, right? This is potentially Tom Brady's last season. We brought in, Akeem Hicks on a 1-year deal, Kyle Rudolph, Julio Jones, Neil, Ryan. We brought all these veterans in for 1 year because we know what the goal is, and that's to win a Super Bowl. So keeping everybody fresh is going to be the name of the game. So I think we'll see plenty of the other backs as well, how that rotates in. Last year, Giovanni Bernard was the 2-minute drill hurry up back, but we didn't see much of him even when he was healthy. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the running game plays out. I know that they definitely want more balance on that front. And I think that's going to be accomplished with Lenny, Rachaad White, Keyshawn Vaughn, all getting some touches as a rusher. The only thing is, I mean, look, I saw Rachaad White today standing next to Mike Evans. The guy's a big back. He's a big dude. But again, haven't seen it yet. The tape looks good. Everything he's doing he's part of our training camp diaries at Pewter Report, where he's kind of telling us firsthand from his own perspective how training camp's going. He's saying all the right things. He's he's in his playbook, nose deep in his playbook, in the installs. But once we'll have a better picture, especially next week when Miami Dolphins come to town and we're having joint practices, pads are on, we'll have a better idea of what he can really do then. Otherwise, we're just kind of going based off college stats and based off, kind of underwear, football.
Gotcha. All right. I tell you what, let's get a little bit more crowded here. Let's go ahead and get this guy on. Here we go. Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports Night Sports Productions, Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. Welcome to the evolution, my friend. It's been a long time. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, Peter. I tell you what, are you ready for some football? I know a lot of people are.
I'm definitely ready for football. We were talking about Julio Jones. Now, you made this comment. Denis said it best. The guy has to stay healthy. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. I'm excited about the move because he's a fourth wide receiver, but how do you see this working out? And is it a direct indication, in your opinion, that Chris Godwin may not necessarily be ready from week one?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Why would you bring in Julio Jones into an already crowded wide receiver room? And guys, you know as well as I do, there's only one ball and it can only go to one person. And you got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin. Now you got Julio Jones. Okay. And you got Gage. Where are the catches coming from? And that's why I think Godwin, we're not going to see him in September. Maybe not even in October. Because why are you even signing him if, and again, for $6 million? That's the key number. They could have signed him for the league minimum for a veteran, but no, they're not counting on Godwin for a while, I don't think. Guys, what do you think about that?
I disagree with that. I think if they were planning on having Godwin out for at least 6 weeks, I think he would have been placed on PUP. Where I do think that could potentially happen, if he's not ready to go, they carry him. He doesn't practice throughout training camp, and they place him on IR after waiver cuts. That would ensure that he misses the first 3 games to be back by week 4. If they thought that he would be out until at least week 6, week 7, I think that's where PUP would have came into play. But everything that we've heard so far from coaches, from insiders like Adam Schefter, that he's on track to potentially be able to play week 1. And even if he's not able to play week 1, week 2, week 3, I think they have no problem holding him out. I think with Julio Jones was more, and he spoke about this today, was he had competition. I mean, Green Bay was sniffing around, the Saints were sniffing around, the Colts were sniffing around. He's still, for everything, all the injuries he's faced the last two years, he's still a dominant wide receiver when he's healthy. Of course, when is a big if. And I think they had to pay for his services. I think what this does, and what Todd Bowles kind of said, is ensures that what happened last year when Cam Brate is taking snaps at wide receiver in a playoff game to get you a home playoff championship, NFC championship, I think that plays into it. They could have maybe waited around mid-season to see what Odell was up to, but the chance to add a player like Julio Jones for a minimal price, $6 million it's not a deal breaker in any means. It's Gronk money pretty much. I think is the reason why they went that route.
All right,
yeah, and it doesn't break the bank. You're exactly right. But my big concern in this whole thing is when you look at that offense now, man, I still think the Buccaneers and Tom Brady in his mind and Leftwich in his mind, I think they still want to throw it 40 to 50 times a game. And that's really not, I think, what Todd Bowles wants to do. I think Todd wants to get that down in the high 20s, low 30s, run the football a little bit and get his defense off the field.
And Dennis, that's why I say, and we talk about fantasy running backs all the time. And I know we've been having this conversation for the last 2 years with the Buccaneer running back. This could actually be the year where they run the ball more than they pass because of Todd Bowles.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think JC is on the money as well. I'm inclined to think that they really try to even it out for a number of reasons. Do you want Tom Brady throwing that ball 40 to 50 times a game? The guy is still in his mid 40s. And the other thing about Godwin, I think this is going to come into play. The Bucs' first 4 games: Dallas, at New Orleans, Green Bay, and Kansas City. So if you don't have Chris Godwin in those 4 games, I don't know if they will or they won't. Obviously, you guys have your finger on the pulse more than I do, but those are hard draws as it is. So you have to wonder if Godwin is available. You'd like to think maybe they might need him given how difficult that schedule is to start, because they don't want to start 1-3.
I think what it does too is, and to kind of Leo's point as well, is they want to run the ball. Todd Bowles wants to run the ball. With Julio Jones out there, if you're starting the game with 4 wide receivers out there, you're getting those corners, those safeties, those linebackers running, whether that's utilizing backs out of the backfield as well to get those linebackers running. And we saw the Bucs pretty much put up 30 points last year, a game at ease. If you can get that early lead on teams and get them running, and then you bring in Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White, some big, powerful backs in the second half to pound the crap out of them. We know when we saw it last year with the Bills and the Pats in that crazy win game. If you pound and pound and pound, at some point they don't want to take the pounding anymore, and that's when holes start to open up. And that's where I think the running game will be more balanced, probably in the second half than the first half, because they'll be able to hopefully, potentially, if everything goes well, move the ball, put some points in that first half, then utilize that offensive line that's built for running the ball, utilize those big backs in the second half to wind down the clock and just take the will out of their opponent. So it's going to be interesting to watch how they do it.
You know what, Dennis? I'm going to take your point a little further. I have never seen a team like Tampa Bay this year where you can make a case where they can be 4-0 out of the gate, or they can also be 0-4. That's the crazy thing about those first 4 games. They're going to Dallas, and Dallas is going to be ready for bear after last year when they lost in that last minute. New Orleans is a house of horrors for the Buccaneers in the regular season. Then they got Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. He's still Aaron Rodgers. Then you get Mahomes. You get probably the 2 best quarterbacks, again, south of Buffalo and west of the Mississippi. But those 2 guys are so different and so effective. You're right. They could be 1-3. They could be 3-1. I'll be happy if they're 2-2, to be honest.
I tell you what, JC, I know you got to get out of here. So go ahead and give me one last tidbit, and then we will get you out of here. We'll get you on the evolution once again. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just day one of training camp, there's a lot of things to like, a lot of things I think need to work on. The offense came out the gate swinging first, really, up tempo. Brady hit a deep ball to Perriman. You had a nice catch by from Gabbert to Cyril Grayson, who made a nice one-handed catch in the end zone covered by Zion McCollum. Then the defense that kind of came on late a little bit as well with a pair of would-be sacks by Anthony Nelson, another one by Elijah Ponder. And then to close it out, there was a pick by Chris Cooper, who was a safety on Kyle Trask. So there's a lot of good things on both sides of the ball. One interesting note was there were so many of the wide receivers out there as punt returners, and we talked about the wide receiver. We didn't get into the depth and how that's going to play out, but special teams is going to be the way to make that 5th, 6th, 7th spot. So I'll be continuing to look at that. Left guard situation is going to be interesting as well. Aaron Stinney took a majority of the reps. Robert Hainsey took a majority of the reps at second string, and Gadecki was taking those second string snaps at left guard. So that's going to be interesting. Today was the suck-up day. He made all of his kicks. Caveat, they're all within 36. We know he can kick within 36. Look for maybe Borregales to have his day out there tomorrow. See if he can hit those deep kicks consistently. I think we could see the emergence of Julio Jones today. What number tomorrow? What number he's going to wear? He still said he needs to take his physical and still kind of get his way around the building. He's got to do certain meetings, meet the staff, meet equipment, and all security, all that fun stuff. So camp's going to be popping tomorrow again. It's definitely going to be an exciting time. Make sure you guys head over to pewterreport.com. We'll have your camp breakdown. We'll have all your quotes from all the players who are available. Make sure you visit my Twitter at JCAllenNFL. I'll have all the stuff from there, everything going around the Bucs. And Peter, Leo, and Dennis, is always a pleasure speaking with you guys.
Thanks a lot, JC. Appreciate the time, as always, being on the Sports Web, my friend. All right?
Anytime.
Take care, JP.
Good stuff there, JC Allen of Pewter Report. Dennis, I want to get back to it. In your opinion, I know it's the first day of training camp, but what is your biggest concern for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team in 2022?
This is always my biggest concern with any NFL team, or maybe even any professional sports team, is staying healthy. Because, we analyze this over and over again, but throughout the year, you just can never handicap injuries. And at the end of the day, they have so much depth at receiver, but do they? If Godwin's out for a month and, all it takes is another bigger injury, Mike Evans is getting up there a little bit. So if they can stay healthy, you got to figure that this team is going to be in it for a long time from the regular season into the playoffs. But to me, that's it. I think they are set as they have been for the last couple of years. It's, do they stay healthy? So, yeah, and I actually got to run too, because I got this newscast I got to put together. So,
well, I tell you what, go ahead and promote yourself really quick and give us some good news on is it going to cool down a little bit here?
No, man.
Like my kitchen on a Saturday night, everything burns. That's why I got an air fryer. Go ahead, give me the weather.
I'll tell you, for practice, the next couple of days, it's going to be mid to upper 90s. There's not going to be much rain. There's still going to be a ton of humidity. So, if for folks who are going to the practices or the players who aren't used to this Florida heat, this is about as bad as it's going to get. But I think by next week, we're back to more of our typical late-day storms. And the tropics are still quiet. Let's hope it stays that way. So you guys have a good night. Good talking to Peter again. Congrats on the new job. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, sir.
Take care, Dennis.
Take care, Leo.
News, getting on the Sports Web here. Definitely go check out the broadcast there as we get him on the evolution of sports talk television. We got the legend on here, Leo Haggerty. Let's go out to some of these comments and read them. Of course, the comment was one of the comments, and this one from Dave. Do both of the rookie tight ends make the team? Your thoughts, Leo? What do you say? Both of those rookie tight ends make the team, even if you signed to Kyle Rudolph. There's a reason why you drafted him in the first place, right?
Yeah, it's all going to depend on who goes down. And again, Peter, we saw that you're not going to go through the season without injuries. The 2 times the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, they got by with one major injury. Booger McFarland in the first run, and the second run, Kappa. And again, after that, it was pretty much not 100% team, but they were able to get on the field.
Yeah.
And look at last year. We all talk about Godwin getting hurt. The big injury was Tristan Wirfs. at right tackle, and he couldn't play. And all of a sudden, Raheem Morris had a great scheme, and they took advantage of it. And that's what you ask Denis. The biggest thing he's looking at. Hey, it's all on number 12, Peter. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He has got to line up 17 games. If he doesn't, this team's going to hell in a handbasket quickly because all the eggs are in Tom Brady's basket.
They are, and it's all in this year, like it has been the last couple of years, all in, but especially this year. You lose a Gronkowski, you sign a Kyle Rudolph, you sign a Julio Jones, and I get it. People are saying, well, those guys may be over the hill. They may not be, and they may respond to Tom Brady. There's a reason why he's the greatest of all time, because he gets the most out of those type of players.
And you know what, Peter?
Yes.
In coaching, there's two things you can't coach. Can't coach speed, can't coach size. Julio Jones, Kyle Rudolph, big target, 6'4", 6'6". That's the big thing there. Hey, it's not Gronk being 6'7", 6'8", maybe in those, football spikes. But I'll tell you what, Peter, we have preached this to people that when you look at a quarterback, he's good for a reason. He's got a good offensive line. He's got a great running game, and he has a spectacular tight end that can stretch the field down the middle. The Bucs, when healthy, and again, boy, that's in quotes, when healthy, they look real good on paper. But again, Peter, you don't play the game on paper. You play it on the gridiron.
And you play to win the game, as former Rashard White's former coach would say, Herman Edwards at Arizona State. We're on with the legend Leo Haggerty. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And you're exactly right. To me, what was the biggest injury last year? Was it the Tristan Wirfs one, or was it the losing of wide receivers? Because, yeah, Tristan Wirfs, you lose him, but you can see this organization wasn't going to go through that again with the signing of a Julio Jones. And Christopher Cole thinks that they could keep 7 wide receivers. If they don't keep 7 wide receivers, who's the odd man out? I say Scotty Miller or Tyler Johnson, and I'll tell you why. You heard a lot of scuttlebutt, if you will, about Jalen Darden in his second year of progression. Of course, Tom Brady picked him last year, didn't do a lot, showed some flashes of brilliance. He does have that speed threat, so you could, deal with losing a Scotty Miller, right?
Peter, I'll tell you what. I think if you see 7 wide receivers show up on Sunday, one of them is your return guy. So, I mean, I think that's how Darden makes the club,
right?
As a return guy. But and it's kind of comical, JC's talking about, look at the 2 guys that made great plays today, Johnson and Grayson. They're not even in the mix come September. I mean, you're talking about the 3rd, 4th, or 5th wide receiver. Yeah. And it's crazy. Again, it's all going to come down to one thing. Can Mike Evans get single coverage? If he gets single coverage, Brady can pick him out. And again, what did Chris Godwin do that was so effective? 2 things. The guy blocked. He was one of the best blocking wide receivers. Yes. And Peter, he ran that Z screen like it was a trick play.
Awesome.
I mean, they would throw it out there, and he was getting double-digit yak, and that was huge.
And I could see them using Jones with the same play, because he's been known in that Atlanta offense to do that. Tennessee, not so much last year, but wasn't very effective. Again, wasn't very healthy. Let's go out to Rob here. We went with that question. So the biggest weakness, in your opinion, is the health. What about defensively? Because a lot of people, and Todd Bowles was asked this today. I watched the press conference. You're going to miss out on a Sue. You're going to miss out on a JPP, but they virtually gave you not that. JPP didn't give you a lot last year at all because he was hurt. He's coming off an injury. Sue gives you that 6 sacks. So can an Akeem Hicks and an Avita Vea and what the Bucs have to rush the passer, can they give you enough? Or do you think the Bucs go out in free agency and maybe pick a guy off the waiver wire? Because Dee Ford today was released by the San Francisco 49ers. Now, at the time, he was one of the best pass rushers in the league. Could the Bucs kick those tires, you think?
You know what, Peter? I think the biggest thing right now is what Sue gave you was double teams. They had to double team him. Vita Vea is now manned up. I'll tell you what, I like those odds every day and twice on Sunday. But now, will Akeem Hicks get double teamed? That's the key. If they can single block him, guess who's getting double teamed? Number 50. And now that push up the middle, getting color in the quarterback's face, that doesn't happen. Again, I was a Sue fan. I thought he did a lot for that defense in terms of what's happening. And I'll tell you what, the forgotten man in this defense is Will Golston. Will Golston, every year people would talk about, oh, he's on the bubble, he's on the bubble, he's on the bubble. When that 3-4 showed up with Todd Bowles, Will Golston was resurrected. He had a career. And believe me, he's a big man and he's a good football player. Yeah. So, if you're looking at those three guys in that 3-4, that's a formidable group. Again, somebody's got to get double teamed. They got to take the double teams off of Vita Vea, and Hicks has got to be the one to end up getting those double teams.
All right, let's read the comments here. Rob also says, I am cranking up the Bucs animation machine again for the season. Sounds good, my friend. Definitely don't be a stranger on the show. We love to play those. The weight issue with Lenny was overblown clickbait. You agree with that? I mean, because now you're hearing that Todd Bowles is comfortable with them. He's down to a certain weight. I get it. Rick Stroud has to do a job, and a lot of people don't like that, but that's his job at the end of the day. It was kind of overblown, wasn't it?
Well, what's his job? It should be reporting facts. If that wasn't a fact, then why are you reporting it?
Well, I don't think Rick Stroud is going to make up stuff because he's covered the Bucs for a long time. If coaches were upset with Lenny coming out of shape, which they seem like they were, then I don't think there's any false news to that. I just think people are kind of upset about it because, it kind of gets blown out of proportion and people start to say, well, he's a bum and this and that and the other thing. It's kind of,
Peter, do you want Leonard Fournette running a 100-yard dash? No. You want him to get 4 yards a carry.
Right.
And if he can do that at 245, 250, I'm okay with that. You know why? That's going to take a toll on the defense. And again, I got to give Steve Varcartapone, our guy that covers the Tennessee Titans, when people asked about Derrick Henry, tackling him in the first quarter, is that a business decision? He said, yeah, but tackle him in the fourth quarter is a retirement decision. That's the same thing with Fournette. It's a big man. And you know what? If he can carry that weight, God love him. Let's go.
That's it. Let's go.
I have no problem with it. And so I don't. Coming in overweight, you know what? He probably lost 10 pounds today. Some of those linemen lose 12, 15 pounds in that heat. So, Peter, I think it was definitely overblown for sure.
Yeah, I think so. You saw what he could do last year when he stayed healthy. Fournette was a big-time player, and I was happy. Do you think we finally get a fullback? I don't think we do. No. Can we bring Mickens back? I know you're joking around, Dave. And will they just sign Sue back and then the DL is set? I think they moved on. Sue hasn't gotten a lot of interest, if you will, from other teams. And I think maybe the deal is out with Sue, that they've seen, the hits have taken their toll on him. He's not as fast as he used to be. He was probably maybe a second off of getting to Stafford, but that second makes a big time difference. Do you think that's what NFL scouts and NFL teams see right now? That's the reason Sue is not getting that much interest and he hasn't been signed yet?
Peter, I don't think so. I think maybe it's a money issue. And I'll tell you what, eventually it'll come down to, okay, somebody's going to get hurt at training camp and now he's going to look real good. Peter, again, we're talking about the defensive tackle that has, I think, played 170-some consecutive games.
Yes, amazing.
This is unheard of.
Is he a Hall of Famer in your opinion? Because I got into a debate with the great Harry the Greek. To me, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care what anybody says about his career being a dirty player. He's productive. He's consistent. He can dominate a game. I'm not going to put him up there in the pantheon, Leo word, of Warren Sapp, but he has taken over some games. I think he's a Hall of Famer. What do you say?
Boy, I'll tell you, Peter, he's right on the cusp. He's right on that horizon of being that Hall of Famer. first ballot, maybe not, but I think he gets in again, depending upon who's going in with you at the same time. And that's the key. You know, who's all on that ballot? I mean, John Lynch took him a while. I mean, Warren Sapp went in on the first. Derek Brooks. Again, it all depends on who the other guys, that group of 15 they get down to is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and look, Dave says, do you think Sue would take a cheap $3 to $4 million with a chance of another ring? You would think so, but I think you're right. I think it is about money, but again, I think it's also about this organization moving on, not only getting a Akeem Hicks, but also drafting a Logan Hall in the second round. They want to get more athletic, and we heard from Warren Sapp down here when he trained Hall, saying that basically Hall could be the next prototype here. I mean, this is how high he is. Take it for what it's worth, but that's Warren Sapp, Hall of Famer, 3-technique defensive tackle. I'm going to kind of consider what he has to say kind of important.
Peter, you're talking about the guy who created the 3-technique.
Thank you.
Not just the Hall of Famer. He created the 3-technique. And I always used to get a charge out of Michael Strahan, you know, because Strahan didn't get in on the first ballot, and everybody said, you know, oh, you know, why'd that happen? I said, hey, how many people are trying to look for the next Warren Sapp? Every team. How many people are trying to look for the next Michael Strahan? Crickets.
Yes.
Okay, crickets. Crickets.
I mean, I like Strahan. I like him, but he's not a Warren Sapp. I mean, he's not. The guy was a freak of nature. I remember that first game in 1997, taking out Steve Young by the helmet, taking out Jerry Rice by the helmet. He absolutely demolished that team that year. And that was, you know, that was.
And Peter, I think they won the game 10-3. I mean, it was 13-10, something. But yeah, it was crazy. But I was scouting for Blesto at the time. Okay. And the lower the score, the better it is. After Sapp's rookie year, I rated him a 0.6. And I said, future Hall of Famer. Now, this was after his rookie year now. I said that, and they said, what do you see in him? I said, he's the fastest fat man in football. And I talked to the training staff. They said he had the most unbelievable quick twitch muscles they've ever seen. That when that ball was snapped, he was almost faster than the lineman getting out, the offense, who knew the snap count. So again, I was sitting up with Ron Jaworski one time up at NFL Films with Roxanne Wilder went up with us. And we're up there, Merle Hodge is there. And they have a film of the Lions. And for some godforsaken reason, the Lions forgot to block Warren Sapp on a play.
I don't understand that.
Oh, my God.
That's bad coaching right there. I mean, that's bad game plan. How do you not stay up at night if you're an offensive coordinator and game plan for Warren Sapp? He's a complete and total nightmare.
It was called a blown assignment. But watching Sapp, he takes 2 steps into the backfield, and he's figuring, okay, I'm going to get trapped. And he looks around, nobody there, goes, okay, let's just start tackling people.
Yeah. Unbelievable. They're on with the legend here, Leo Haggerty, with some great names there and some great stories. Let's go out to David. I heard Sue said on NFL Network that he doesn't want to go to California because of all the taxes. Of course, it was rumored that he would play for the Las Vegas Raiders because he's been mentioned in that conversation. We shall see how that happens. JPP, what about him? Does he come back for depth? I honestly think they want to get JTS, Joe Tryon, Shayenka as much time as possible because they feel like not only he's got potential, he's versatile. Even Levante David was talking about this today. Do you see a JPP coming back in the fold?
No, it's time to see what Joe Tryon, Shayenka, and especially Nelson. Yeah. Let's see what they got. I mean, you're talking about 2 guys, 6'5", 6'6".
Sure.
And again, if they drop back into coverage, that's a hard thing for a quarterback to throw over. And if they're coming on the pass rush, let's see what they can do because these are 2 big athletic players. And again, you got Shaq Barrett in there.
Sure.
You got JTS, and now you got Nelson who can flip-flop. So, again, I kind of like what's going on there. I'll tell you what, though, Peter. Look for the 2 middle linebackers to really have good seasons. You know, we talked about how 45 kind of took a little bit of a step back, and we talk about how Levante David blew the last coverage and all that, whatever. Oh, believe me, that's probably sitting there on their locker right now. Devin White, Devontae, they're up there going, okay, 2022, our year.
Yeah, our unfinished business. And Levante was asked about it today in the presser. And, the rumor came out, or the report came out, he was only 60%. So you can see why Devin kind of took a step back. And even Levante talked about it today. They got to be better when the ball is in the air. They're going to, paraphrasing, they want to create more turnovers. They want to create more havoc. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We didn't even talk about that. We talked about Tristan Wirfs and Antonio Brown going out, of course, and Chris Godwin going out, but it's a major injury to that defense. Levante David playing behind that defensive line. I mean, how important is David to this defense this year?
Oh, big time. Again, Peter, when you're talking, and this is why I think Sue is so important. He kept those interior linemen from getting to the second level. I mean, White and Devontae, they both pretty much roamed, tackle to tackle.
Sure.
People couldn't get to that second level because Sue and Vita Vea didn't let them. And again, that's something we're going to have to see if that still happens. If, they double team Hicks and bounce block out to the second level, going to be, Peter, it's going to be interesting. And believe me, the worst thing that happened to the Buccaneers is everybody's picking the Eagles to win the NFC East. You think that's sitting real well down in Big D? Not a chance.
No, not at all. But you lose Amari Cooper. There's still questions about Dak Prescott. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay productive? And then on top of it, Ezekiel Elliott, I get it. He's rushed for 1,000 yards, but he clearly seems like he's on the decline of his career. And it's always talked about every year about the Dallas Cowboys and the hype, and they never do anything with it. They're either out of the first round or they choke in December or January. So I'm not buying them either. And I tell you right now, the Eagles have done a lot of good work, especially in that draft. And of course, getting weapons for Jalen Hurts, especially in A.J. Brown, right?
Yeah. On paper, the Eagles look real good.
Yeah.
Peter, here's what scares me about Dallas.
Okay.
You got some pass rushers there that if they can get to Brady, they can make things real ugly.
Sure.
You got Parsons down there. And again, Tom Brady's one hit away. The biggest problem, and Peter, I've said this, on your show numerous times.
Sure.
A plethora of times.
Look at that.
And if when a quarterback goes south, he goes south in a hurry. The problem is we have no data on a 45-year-old quarterback.
No.
What? And Tom Brady's going to he's going to deteriorate. It's just Father Time's undefeated. Now, he's fighting Father Time pretty well.
Sure.
But again, I just – and when you see Brady, when he sees the rush coming in, he surrenders. He turtles up, and that's what the Bucs want him to do. They want him to do that so he can fight another play. But I'll tell you what, he told Tristan Wirfs, and I'll tell you, Peter, this is gospel. What did Tom Brady tell you when you first took over the right tackle position? Don't let him come quick. Don't let him come inside. Okay? That's pretty much it. Because if they come quick or come inside, he can't protect it. Look what the Rams did. Peter, I guarantee you, the Rams film is to all 30 other teams. Because they're going to see that ghost nine where they put the end so far out that all the tackles could do, they couldn't anchor. They just had to push them around the edge. Well, the good news is that Brady figured it out and didn't just drift back. He sat in the pocket right there, and he let all that stuff go around him. But you know what? All of a sudden, Aaron Donald, he's collapsing it from the inside. So you're going to see I think you're going to see a lot of edge rushers coming off really wide angles on the Buccaneers early. But Peter, last thing with that, I just don't think Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich are going to throw it less than 40, 45 times a game. I just don't think they're going to do that. He wants to throw the ball. He likes to throw the ball. He's got the weapons if they're healthy to throw the ball. But the problem is if you go 3 and out, 2 in a row, and you take 20 seconds off the clock, it gets ugly for your defense.
Well, it does, and you put your defense in that position where they're gonna have to maybe possibly on a short field play a lot better than they did, and they couldn't stay healthy last year. And Levante David was one of those injuries. The secondary was banged up, but it comes back to pass rush. It comes back to a Shaq Barrett. It comes back to an Akeem Hicks and a Vita Vea. Can those guys work together? Can Akeem Hicks, a couple years ago, removed from a Pro Bowl season, we know he can be dominant. I mean, is that the key to that defense, in your opinion? Losing a Sue, you get a Hicks, you got a Vea in the middle, those two big hosses, as my uncle would say. Is that the biggest key?
Always starts with a pass rush, Peter. Always, everywhere. If you don't get a pass rush and that quarterback, again, here comes Leo's axiom number 1. If the quarterback can throw it where he wants to, when he wants to whom he wants to, you're going to lose the game.
Yeah.
Because you got to make that guy uncomfortable back there. You got to make him boom, 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 move around. Let's go back to the year they won the Super Bowl. Mahomes was like, he was like the road runner back there.
497 yards behind the line of scrimmage he was running for that game. And that's what you got to do. That's what was missing last year. You didn't have that from JPP. You didn't have that from Shaq Barrett. You didn't have that consistent pass rush. And people said, well, the secondary's garbage. Yeah, but it starts up front. It's all predicated up front. If you can get after the quarterback, it takes the pressure off of your linebackers and, of course, your secondary, namely your cornerbacks and your safeties.
Oh, absolutely, Peter. And again, the Buccaneers are the team that blitzes the most in the entire NFL. I think it was 33 times. Yep. So again, teams know it's coming. And again, knowing it's coming isn't the thing. You just don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing, is the Buccaneers do a great job of disguising their blitzes. And again, Peter, I'm hoping we don't see a lot of shootouts because it just puts so much more pressure on the offensive line to block for number 12.
It does, and you're exactly right. Left guard spot. Aaron Stinney today taking most of the snaps. Should we look anything into that? Or to me, look, he did a phenomenal job coming in for Alex Kappa during that Super Bowl year. A lot of people assumed because they drafted a Luka Decky from Central Michigan that he was going to come in right away and slot it in as the starter. But that's going to be the competition I think you need to watch, right? Left guard?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the other Shaq's going to be the right guard, so we know that.
Shaq makes it awesome.
Yeah. It's Peter, they're going to have to come up with, I think, a swing guy. And I think that's the guy from Notre Dame. I think he's going to can back up at center guard and tackle.
Yeah.
And that's going to help you on game day because he can basically cover all 5 line positions. So, if you're talking about 7 wide receivers, now you can get away with 6, maybe 7 offensive linemen.
Sure.
Which is good. And I really wish the NFLPA would push for an expanded roster because with 17 games, boy, I'll tell you, you get into December, those guys go down like flies.
Yeah, and hopefully, COVID doesn't come back again. I know there's a lot of variants out there, so we'll watch and keep an eye on.
Hey, Peter, I gotta ask you this question.
Yes.
Vegas has put the Buccaneers win total at 11.5. Over or under?
I think it's going to be over. And I'll tell you why. And this is not me talking as a fan or covering the team for a long time. I do feel like they will run the ball more because of that defensive mentality from Todd Bowles. And then furthermore, I believe that defense is going to be a lot better because not only you're going to be healthy, because look, you talk about it year after year. 1 year you have that injury bug. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen this year. Carlton Davis is coming off of a big-time contract. And I think Akeem Hicks is the key to that defensive line. Akeem Hicks can stay healthy. he will be an upgrade over on the Ndamukong Suh. Your thoughts?
If he gets double teamed, yes, he will be not necessarily an upgrade, but he'll be equivalent of, which is fine. Peter, I was asked this on Sirius XM the other night, and I said,
wait a minute, hold on. You were on Sirius XM the other night, and you didn't let me know. What's up with dropping? You were on Dan Patrick, I believe. You were also.
Yeah, it was 10 o'clock at night, Peter. I didn't want to wake you up. I didn't want to wake you up.
Wake me up. I don't have curfew.
Yeah, but you were kind of busy that night, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
your interest was a little bit divided that night, and I get that. I no problem with that. But I was asked that, and I said, if they get the over, it'll be 12.
Okay.
It won't be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It'll be 12 and 5. It'll be close. And I'll tell you what, Peter, I said this also. When you get to December, don't be surprised if there are 10 teams or more still in the playoff hunt. I think you're going to see a lot of teams coming into December with 6, 7 wins that if they run the table, they can get to. I think 9 and 10 will get you in this year because of the balance. You know, they used to say the mediocrity. I think it's the parity now.
Yeah, it is. Parity is prevalent. And to me, I think it's the Rams. You still got to face them. Even though they lost to Von Miller, you have Green Bay. And then after that, Minnesota, I think, is improved. Detroit's not in that situation, but they play hard.
Oh, and they play every game on Sunday between noon and 1.
Wow.
Peter, look for Detroit to win 5, 6, 7 games this year.
Wow.
Or more, just because of their schedule.
Like it. Let's go out to the comments here. David says, I was there when Warren Sapp broke Jerry Rice's leg. Absolutely. Nassib, Ryan Nassib has been, not Ryan Nassib.
Oh, my.
Not Ryan. Ryan Nassib was the quarterback for Syracuse, played for the Giants. What's his? Carl Nassib. Nassib played for the Raiders. Is that to me, you drafted Anthony Nelson for a reason. He's kind of in that same mold as a Nassib. Do you think the Bucs will kick the tires on a player like that?
All depends on who gets hurt, Peter.
Okay.
I think that's the key.
Okay.
You know, something go down. And you know what? JC brought this up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Godwin go on the PUP list because let's not. You ask the player, okay, he's ready to play now.
Sure.
I think the Bucs need to be extremely cautious because Peter, if he comes back week 1 or 2 and goes down week 3 or 4, you want to face that media? I wouldn't.
No, definitely not. You definitely don't want to face that media. Let's go out to David. Do you think anybody that we drafted last season will be on the team in the next year or so? I think there's going to be, Joe Tryon.
Joe Tryon, yeah.
It wasn't a great draft. I get it. Robert Hansey was one of those players who'll probably be on this team competing, but again, not a great draft. I mean, we heard a lot about Jalen Darden. Could that be a player that we're not looking at in that wide receiving room that could step up? I feel like he could take Scotty Miller's job simply because he could stay healthy. He's going to have another year in this offense. So we know the second year progression, you get more comfortable. And then on top of it, like you always say, Leo, he has that speed threat like Miller. Miller can't stay healthy if Darden can, and then somehow secure that special teams job. Maybe you're looking at a wide receiver in that room that makes the team.
Peter, if everybody's healthy in that room, who are your 3 wide receivers?
It's going to be Evans. It's going to be Godwin. It's going to be Gage. After that, it's Julio Jones.
Okay, so we're talking about the 5th guy at best.
Yes.
At best.
Yes, that's what we do here on the Sports.
Yeah,
6 wide receivers.
Yeah, how they get on the field?
Right,
that's the key.
Bro.
How they get on the field? It's like we talked about the tight ends, the 2 rookies.
Right.
How they getting on the field?
Yes.
I mean, I would not be surprised to see the Buccaneers run a lot of 12 formations, a lot of 3 wideouts, just to force the defense to go nickel right now.
Yeah.
And when they go nickel, look for Lenny to run the football big time.
I love to see Lenny run the football because that makes that team more balanced. And I believe that this Buccaneer offense is more potent, if you will, when they're more balanced. With that being said, let's talk about quarterbacks here. Kyler Murray. Yeah, am I missing something here? Maybe I'm a hater because I don't necessarily like when.
Oh, you're a hater, Peter. Okay, we got that.
Maybe I am. I mean, I don't like quarterbacks that sign big-time contracts. You know, Dak Prescott signs a big-time contract, loses his number one weapon in Amari Cooper. Aaron Rodgers signs a big-time contract, loses his number one into Devontae Adams. Patrick Mahomes signs a big-time contract, lose Tyreek Hill. I get it. Get your money, get your life. It's your life. Do whatever you want to. But at the end of the day, Kyler Murray deserves that type of money over Lamar Jackson or somebody like that. I mean, what has Kyler Murray done for the Arizona Cardinals to warrant that big-time salary? Come on.
We are talking about the Arizona Cardinals. That's how it rates, Peter. Up until Kyler Murray shows up, it was Arizona who? No one talked about it. He's made them relevant. Now, granted, he had the worst playoff game in maybe the history of the NFL.
It was terrible.
Oh, dear God.
Throws
Peter.
that he made Jameis Winston look like a great quarterback. I mean, throwing the ball out of your end zone, just look lost in the sauce, an old Marine Corps term.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to give him a pass only because Hopkins wasn't in the game.
Okay.
When you lose your number one in the season, now it becomes a problem. What the Packers, what the Cardinals, what Kansas City is banking on is that their quarterback will cover up those sins of not having these great wide receivers, which I think it will. Again, get open. The thing is, once you're open, somebody's got to deliver the football, and they've got the guys to do it. And it's funny, Peter, when you look at these first four games for the Buccaneers, okay? They're going to face Dak Prescott. They're going to face Jameis Winston. They're going to face Aaron Rodgers. They're going to face Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
2-2 at best. Does anybody see anything better than that?
I mean, I certainly think it's possible they could do better than that. They could also do worse. You're exactly right. But I think Kansas City Chiefs are going to be hurt by Tyreek Hill. Of course, Hill being in the news now, talking about how Tua is the most accurate quarterback he's ever been with. I mean, to me, I think Kansas City's in trouble. Patrick Mahomes is in trouble because you don't have that number one threat that can go the distance. But do we really think that Hill is going to be able to duplicate those numbers he did with the Chiefs with the Tua? I'm not buying Tua, just like I don't buy Murray.
No, he probably can't, because what Andy Reid does, he spreads the field. He makes you play sideline to sideline. You not only get stretched horizontally, you get stretched vertically. And that'll create openings. And again, Kansas City, they got Tyreek Hill. Yeah, great, fine, boom. There's some other weapons out there they've got that can really run. And that's the key. And Andy Reid is not afraid to run the football. That's another big thing. Is you got Hilaire out there who, again,
can't stay healthy, though. You also got Julio Jones who's
that's
inconsistent, but, you know, we know about Jones. He's fast. You give him the ball. Everything else he's not very good at. We'll see if that happens. The victim of volume being with the Kansas City Chiefs, he may have an opportunity there to get some carries if Hilaire can't stay healthy. Going back to Kyler Murray, how troubled were you by the whole incident that came out about the contract that he had to actually put in time to watch film? I mean, is that kind of like foreshadowing here that he's not taking the time that he needs, that all the rumors we heard about his maturity are absolutely warranted at this point? Because anybody that puts a clause in their contract for their quarterback that you have to spend this amount of time on film, that to me is a red flag.
Well, Peter, it all depends on what type of quarterback you're talking about. Some guys watch film once and they get it. And again, I'm going to go back to my time up at NFL Films with Greg Cosell and Ron Jaworski and that. We literally sat for an hour watching one play. Finally, I'm looking at that and I'm going, hey, guys, the guard, his number is 79. That's not a guard number. Well, we found out that was a tackle that was down playing guard. And he had to, instead of blocking down, he blocked out, which tackles block out, guards block down. And that was it. We got to a point where Jaworski picked up the phone and called the OC from the 49ers at the time and said, hey, look, I'm not going to out you, but is this what happened? Yeah. And we got an answer. But again, some guys get it right away. They can watch it once. They can watch it twice. Some guys got to spend hours in there. So I don't know why they put that in. That makes no sense to me. That if he's not getting it, then stay in and watch film. You know, that's just being a professional. Peter, maybe that's the problem. Maybe he doesn't know how to be a professional.
And I understand that. And that's the thing for me. They were forced to do it, the Cardinals, because look, you drafted a Josh Rosen. That was a bust. You decided to pivot, go with the Murray. You got his coach. Everything is supposed to be fine. And now there seems like there's lots of warts there with this quarterback. And I get it. He can overcome it. He's still young. But when you hear maturity issues, when you hear guys that are not putting in the necessary time, that is a problem with me. We got lots of time here with Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scouting out, media member of Amped Up Sports and Night Sports Productions. Let's go out to David here. Just glad that we got Kansas City and Green Bay at the beginning of the season when they're still trying to figure out who their top wide receiver is going to be and how they're going to play without their old top wide receiver. I put this out there in the over-under on 1252 Chicago Sports with my host there, Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire. Kansas City is going to finish last in that division. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I've stayed up too late. Maybe my interests have gone a different direction. But J.J. Smith-Schuster or Juju Smith-Schuster, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, and then I get it, you got Travis Kelce, who's basically a cheapskate, shown that in the offseason with his former girlfriend, which I don't know why it's cool to not spend money on your girl. Well, that's another show. But at the end of the day, you don't have Tyreek Hill. You look at that West. You have the Raiders with Derek Carr, with Devontae Adams. They get better defensively with adding another component there with the Max Crosby. You got Denver, who has Russell Wilson. And you have the Chargers, who, look, Justin Herbert.
And the Chargers are the best team in that division. Let's be honest.
And look, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, both of those guys can stay healthy. You got J.C. Jackson in the secondary. To me, it's going to be the Chargers that win that division, possibly the Raiders and the Broncos. And I don't see where the Chiefs fit. Everybody wants to say, well, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. Not sure if they can overcome all that talent, man. Everybody's going to beat themselves up.
Peter, that could be a division where 10 wins it. And you could see a whole lot of there may be a 10-win, let's say an 11, 10, 9, and 8. You could see the last place team in the West being 8 and 9, or maybe 9 and 8, because they are just, that's the toughest division, I think, in the NFL. Everybody talks about the NFC West, and they got the Rams, and the biggest deficit that the 49ers have is Shanahan shows up on game day. I mean, he's cost two teams Super Bowls just by his lack of coaching prowess, and the fact that no one has even brought that up. They say, "Oh, he's a great offensive mind." Well, that great offensive mind cost Atlanta a Super Bowl.
How can you be a great offensive mind if you don't try to run the ball? Why are you still trying to pass the ball with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and then you give the ball back to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots? If you're a great offensive mind, be conservative at that point and run the ball. The Falcons should have won that Super Bowl. That was all on Shanahan because he was so busy planning for his next job with the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm going to tell you something right now. They're in trouble this year. I am not buying Trey Lance. In fact, I know Vegas is. I am not buying him until he does it on the field. What do you say about the San Francisco 49ers and their quarterback change?
They're going to be fighting the Seattle Seahawks for the bottom feeder.
I agree. I agree.
I don't see it. And again, why is everybody so anti-Jimmy Garoppolo? All he does is win.
That's it.
That's all he does is win. And I'll tell you what, I'll bet Bill Belichick wish he had him back and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
didn't lose him. Yeah,
Of
just,
course.
yeah.
We know that Belichick didn't want to trade him. We know that it was a Brady and Kraft thing. And of course, we get it. Belichick wanted to move on from Brady. He wanted to go with the Jimmy Garoppolo, but it didn't necessarily happen. And I don't think he's going to be a Buck. I don't think that's going to happen. That whole wild.
Oh God, no, it's not happening.
No, it's
Yeah.
not happening. But maybe for a team like Seattle out there, I get it. They got lots of love for Drew Lock. We'll see how that works. That could be a possibility. Christopher Cole says, should Murray have signed the contract? Look, if the guy is going to get paid, if his agent is willing to get him paid like that, fine. I'm just saying the market right now is inflated, and Murray has really done nothing, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinions out there, to earn that type of contract. But I get it. You'll get paid. I just don't understand this whole idea of not following the Brady blueprint, right? He takes less money for so many years. His teams are competitive. You're not losing number one weapons like these other quarterbacks have. And again, I'm being called a hater for it. I'm just presenting facts. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings.
You know what, Peter? It's also nice when Tom Brady is not the breadwinner in his family.
Well, yeah, that's true. Absolutely. It definitely comes in handy to have a supermodel as a wife. Good for him. And that's the reason why most likely he'll play until he's 50 or 55. I mean, that's the fountain of youth right there, my friend. Thank you for yes, because I'm in the middle of the woods.
Oh, the kick is good. Count that one, Peter. Count that one.
Absolutely. Happy wife, happy life. She's happy, he's happy. And that's the reason why he continues to play. I don't care what anybody says. Now, did he stay retired for that long? No, he didn't. You know why? He loves football, and maybe he didn't want to do the chores around the house or listen to his wife. Just how it is. I don't know. I'm not married, so don't take any advice from me. All these opinions, of course, are of my own, not of anybody else of Amped Up Sports. Thank you, Peter. All your guests, because I'm in the middle of the woods, camping with my family. I'm the only Buccaneers fan I've seen out here. Well, my friend, thank you very much for watching.
Woo!
Out in the middle of the woods. Watch out for watch out for all the animals out there.
The Grizzlies. Watch out for the Grizzlies.
Coyotes and stuff like that. And we're not definitely talking about basketball, but let's shift gears to basketball. The Kevin Durant saga. It certainly Boston maybe going all in here for Durant. Are the Nets going to do it, or are they going to hold on to Durant? Because what you're talking about now, possibly Jaylen Brown, another role player, multiple first-round picks. I mean, if you're Boston, is it worth it? Can you win with the Durant and, of course, Jason Tatum? Or should Boston, look the other way at this point? Is this a mistake on their part?
Peter, I don't know what the problem in Brooklyn is. Ben Simmons for Harden?
He's terrible. And I bought
God.
into it. I bought into it thinking he was going to play. This guy is such a thief, stealing cash from the Nets at this point, and it is such a disaster. And I get it. You got Kyrie Irving who can't get on the court because of this and that and the other thing. Is he going to be traded to the Lakers? I mean, it's just a whole drama there. And that's why I always say, I get it. You want to have a super team, but it doesn't work out. That's not how you build teams these days. You have to have role players. You have to have cap freed up for those role players in order for it to work. It doesn't work out like you always think it can with a super team.
And you know what, Peter? Look at the Golden State model. They drafted those guys. Steph, they drafted Thompson. They drafted these guys, Wiseman, who's hurt, but all of a sudden you're going to put a 7-footer back on that floor with those guys.
Right.
And again, that's the model right there. You draft and then you add pieces from there. Yeah, they added Wiggins, which is a great add, but still, you got the big two there in Thompson and Steph Curry. Both of them have never played anywhere else but Golden State.
I mean, it's the Draymond Green, and they draft these players and they develop them, and it's kind of like the San Antonio Spurs, if you will, the early 2000s with Greg Popovich, and you have, of course, a Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan. You just develop those.
David Robinson,
Robinson. I mean, just over and over again, that's what good teams do. With that being said, is it far-fetched to believe that the Golden State Warriors would possibly trade for Kevin Durant? And should they do that with giving up possibly a Wiseman, a Poole, their future to win another championship? Or they say, you know what, we're good with what we have because we already won a championship this year without a Kevin Durant?
Peter, I never say never in the NBA because, people look at things differently depending upon the day, the week, the month, the year. And it all depends on what you got to give up. You don't want to mortgage the farm. That's for sure. And you know what, Peter? There's one basketball. There's 5 players on the floor. That means 20% of the time you have the ball. What are you doing the other 80% of the time?
Right.
That's the key.
All right.
And I just don't think Durant comes back. If I was Brooklyn, I would sit down and say, okay, we're not trading you. We're not going to trade you.
Right.
You're here. Figure it out.
Yeah.
And again, if he goes, well, I can't play with Kyrie. Well, then you trade Kyrie. But you don't get rid of your biggest piece.
No, I agree with you on that. Let's go out to David here. Don't worry, guys. Bear repellent. I've seen a bear in the wild. We go to the campsites where there are bears all over the place, but apparently when I show up, they leave. Even hang out raw chicken and pork about 20 yards from our campsite just to have a chance to see a bear. I don't know why you're doing that, but thank you very much for that story. You ever seen Semi-Pro? Watch that. See what happens. Question, Mr. Leo, the first-round rookie that the Lightning picked up. Do you see him making a difference? I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Orlando Magic. The Lightning being tremendous. They lose a Palat, but your thoughts on what the Lightning have done this postseason?
They had to. I mean, it was just they bring him back Nemestikov, which, again, Peter, when we found out how banged up this team was at the end of the Stanley Cup, I'm amazed they got that far. And again, Game 4, where I'm going to go back to Game 4 with the 7 men on the ice. And again, there are times we watch hockey games, there's 7, 8 guys on the ice, but never when the puck's going forward. It's always going backward behind your net. Then you can switch out. And the funny thing was, Game 5, Colorado tried the same thing. And you saw, just people yelling off the Lightning bench, saying, hey, they got 7, they got 7. Well, they called it. And, Peter, I left the arena Game 4, and the game officials were standing outside, and it looked like somebody just shot their dogs. They were, again, you got 2 linesmen watching the lines. You got 1 referee watching the puck. You got another referee watching. You can't do this. I think this is going to be the Bert Emanuel rule. I think you're going to see this come in where it's reviewable, just because of how that played out. But yeah, the first round draft pick, he'll play, but I don't think he'll play right away. He's going to need some time down in the minors, probably at Syracuse. He'll get a sniff. What the Lightning really do a great job of is they give people a sniff. A little taste of what it's like being up with the big squad. I think they'll bring them up, 4 or 5, maybe 6 games and see what it's like and see what it is. But again, they lost Palat. They lost Ruda. They
lost McDonough too. You trade McDonough also, and a lot of people are like, it's what you got to do. When you go all in.
When you're in salary cap hell. Yeah. That's
what it is. Yeah, it is. All right. Yes. Christopher Cole says that's why the Bucs have cap space to sign more weapons. Absolutely. Let's go to the Orlando Magic, and then I'll end your night here. Really appreciate the time, as always, the legend here, Mr. Leo Haggerty. What was your thoughts? Because that was a shocker to me. We talked about it. Paulo Balcaro out of Duke. Do you like that pick? I liked the pick. I wanted, of course, the kid from Auburn. But do you like? To me, Balcaro seems like he's got the game right now to come in and contribute, and that's what you want from this Magic team. They're in a rebuilding effort. They got lots of young talent here. We're not talking about potential. We need a guy to come in and score, possibly be the face of the franchise. Your thoughts on the Magic on draft night?
Peter, I'm glad it wasn't the kid from Gonzaga. And Dave Alexander, when we had him on, hit the nail on the head. I don't like 7-foot jump shooters.
Right.
And that's it. Does this guy remind you of Porzingis? That's what was scary is, what's the 7-footer doing on the perimeter? So I think either way, the kid from Auburn, the kid from Duke, flip a coin. I don't think you can go wrong. I think the bigger upside was the kid from Auburn because he'll play both ends of the floor. And it's not saying that Pablo won't, but now you're playing 82 games. That's a big push. But I think that the Magic got it right. Either way, the Auburn kid or Machado, that was good. I just don't think that a 7-foot jump shooter would work with that team.
Well, a lot of people would say Dirk Nowitzki. Some people would also say Sean Bradley. It doesn't always work out. There's a combination to it. I get it. The NBA has changed. He's got lots of potential. But you got Mo Bamba, right? I mean, you drafted him a couple of years ago. He's a presence. You're looking for him to develop. You also got Wendell Clark. Who you got from the
Peter,
Bulls.
you got Isaac, who hasn't played in 2 years with his ACL.
I mean, and you look at him when his comparison when he was coming out of Florida State. For me, it was Kevin Durant. I mean, he had the same type of body, same type of game, if you will. Good mid-range jump shot, could score. He can't stay healthy right now, but that's the comparison. That's what you got. You got enough potential on this team. You got to get players that come in and produce right away.
And that's why I go back to Godwin. No one knows what his injury is.
Sure.
No one knew. I'll tell you what, we know it was bad with Isaac. He's missed 2 full seasons. That's what I'm saying. You don't get an Adrian Peterson that shows up with a torn ACL and he's ready to play in 8-9 months, which is what we're asking of Godwin if he shows up to play in September. Again, I like what the Magic did. They've got to get to a point where 41-41. I think they got to get to 500 next year. If not, then you got a problem because they've got a whole host of guys in that 6 foot to 6'4", 6'5" range. They didn't have that guy who is 6'9", 6'10", that can play on the perimeter and defend the post. That's where I think Pachero is going to help them out. He's going to be able to be that swing guy. He's going to be able to go inside a little bit, play outside.
Yeah.
So, Peter, we're going to go down there. We're going to figure it out, but we'll go down there one game.
Yeah, we'll definitely go down there one game. Do you think the Magic will pull a rabbit out of their hat and get Kevin Durant? No, I do not. They're going to continue this rebuild. It certainly seems like. Let's go out to Roger Shue. What's up, y'all? What's up with you? I know you're a wrestling fan like I am. I missed the madman himself, Mr. Mark Mancini, and, of course, the bodyguard of the Berg, Ralph Williams. Big news this week, Triple H taking over, but the other big news, Vince McMahon retiring. Your thoughts, and is this good for the wrestling business as a whole?
You know what, Peter? I go back to Vince McMahon's dad, who ran the promotion in Philadelphia. And we had all the wrestlers living in Jersey because they didn't have to pay, Philadelphia income tax then. So I think it got to a point, the man's 77. He's got to move on. And I think having Triple H in the family, literally, figuratively, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Now he can run it. He's got his daughter still involved. And that's a big thing. But was it time to move on? Yeah, probably. Right off into the sunset, Vince, you did a great job. You are the P.T. Barnum of the 21st century. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. But a lot of people will look back and say these allegations will, soil his career, if that's fair or not. But what he's done for the professional wrestling business and entertainment as a whole has been amazing. I do think it was time for him to step aside, not only with the allegations, but clearly the way he thinks about wrestling has kind of passed him by. And with that being said, Triple H, to me, should have been running this business forever. He earned it. He's the guy that, of course, broke kayfabe with Shawn Michaels and, of course, Kevin Nash and the late, great Scott Hall. All those wrestlers were immune to it because 2 of them left for WCW. Shawn couldn't be touched, but Triple H was the one that received the brunt. He still stuck with the business. He was still loyal to WWE. That's why he should run it, in my opinion. With that being said, Leo, go ahead. Give me some final thoughts here on the evolution.
You know what, Peter? Let's go to professional golf.
Yeah.
You may not like the Saudis, but Live Golf is going to be big because they are paying these guys appearance fees. And, ESPN is poo-pooing it. They're coming out and say, oh, gee, take the money and run. Yeah, guess what? Take the money and run.
Sure.
People are coming out to watch the golfers play. They're not out there to watch Tiger Woods play 2 rounds and then miss the cut. Liv's got the right idea. Hey, 3 rounds, everybody's in. Let's go from there. Because and they're starting to get people to come over. Now, do I like the guys running it? No, hell no. But I think they got the right idea. The PGA's better figure out that, you're going to have to pay these guys to show up. And they're going, well, that's not competitive. Well, you know what? Welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
That's a new one. Yeah. Peter, one last thing.
Yes.
One last thing.
Yes.
The NCAA is thinking about letting players transfer as many times as they want with no problem, no sitting out. That is the worst idea I ever heard. Yep. I'm gonna definitely be peppering the AAC coaches tomorrow, asking them, hey, not only now do you got to recruit a kid, but you got to keep him there because those bigger schools are going to cherry pick your kids right now. How do you like that? I want to see what their response is.
It makes it more challenging. We talked about this challenge. Look, you got to pay these athletes because you can't have these scandals. You can't have, you see the other day, Kirby Smart is getting paid over $100 million. You got to pay these kids, but you're exactly right. Where's that line drawn at that point, right? When you go over that line, it certainly seems like we're going over that line. Thanks a lot for the time, the legend, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Amped Up Sports and, of course, Night Sports. Appreciate the time, my friend, and we'll see you soon, all right?
Take care, my friend.
All right, there you go. Good stuff there by Leo Haggerty. Tell you what, let's go ahead and take a break. Not a commercial break. There's an advantage to working for CW44, right? I mean, you get a chance to interview guys that you never thought you would interview before, and I got the opportunity to interview Martin Gramatica, Super Bowl winning kicker for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I tell you what, let's go out to Martin Gramatica with being the new coach of the Indoor Soccer League. Well, actually, let's not do that. Let's go out to the phone lines, and then we'll get back to that in a moment. Let's go out to Mr. Ben Cornett from Las Vegas. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. Long time no hear.
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Peter Blake? How's it going?
It's going great. Working hard down here with the new job and just trying to do as many shows as possible. And, of course, how's it going with you? First day of Tampa Bay Buccaneer training camp. You got to be elated.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, my God, it's back. Football's back.
Right. It's back. Finally.
We've been waiting since, unfortunately, we had that loss to the Rams.
Right.
We've been waiting for something Bucs to see. But yeah, no, I'm very excited, man. I'm very excited. And listen, congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
Your stories so far. The Gramatica interview was very good, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well-spoken. He's a well-spoken guy, man. I'm excited to see what he does.
And look, when you get an opportunity to interview somebody, and I get it, you're doing a story on him being the new coach of the Indoor Soccer League, you got to take that opportunity to let the man talk. And even though the TV station wasn't able to play the whole interview because it was like 5 or 6 minutes, because I'm going to ask every question I can and try to get as many good sound bites as possible. I mean, he's absolutely a great soundbite, and he had some great stuff to say, not only about the Strikers, but also about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2022, namely that kicking competition. I wonder where Mr. Ray Kennedy is, because anytime we talk about kickers, I mean, that guy he just loves it.
Oh, well, I mean, he's just too busy for everyone, I guess. He's out there in the middle of nowhere.
He's just doing shows all over the place. Love Tampa Bay, Ray.
Absolutely. I mean, he's just everywhere.
Right. He is.
Yeah, I'm excited about this season. I mentioned in the comment about Rachaad White, the running back.
Yeah.
A lot of people like him, and I do too.
Well, I like him too, and I got a chance to interview him and ask him about the comparison that Herman Edwards made for him in college, that he looked a lot like Marcus Allen. And he said, I think I picture myself more as a Le'Veon Bell, but look, if he can be anything like one of those running backs and give you that production. And that's what you need. Keyshawn Vaughn hasn't had the opportunity, but has been somewhat disappointing. And I think that's a player that you have to watch out for with the drafting of a White in the 3rd round. They obviously see something out of this kid. They like his pass catching skills. They like how he runs with the football. He's got some speed that you can't teach. So he's going to get an opportunity, and you got to like his attitude coming into camp and before camp, saying he wants to challenge for the starting job.
Hey, and another good thing too?
What's that?
He pass blocks.
Yes. I mean, that's what you got to do in the offense. You can't get your quarterback killed. Ronald Jones.
God, I mean, what an idea. What a concept.
Well, it's a main cog of this offense. Look, if you're going to go, 4 wide receivers and you got your running back there, and the defense knows that he can't block worth spit. I said spit, not the other word. And I think it comes down to if Ronald Jones was in there, he was never going to get a pass thrown to him because he couldn't catch consistently. And then on top of it, if you ask the guy to block, once again, you would get Brady possibly killed. I loved Ronald Jones and his running style, but those were the factors in his game. That's the reason why he's not with the Bucs anymore. He's with the Chiefs.
Right. It just never worked out. Let's just call it like this.
Yep.
Just never quite worked out.
Right.
But on the positive side, we drafted Rachaad White. We got Leonard back.
Yep.
So you're right there. You already got 2 good running backs. I know Rashaad's never played an NFL game, but
sure,
you have to assume that he played in an NFL style offense.
Right.
Played for NFL coaches. So, he's going to get some of those, those aspects of, the pro game. So that's going to translate, a lot sooner for him than I would say most rookies who haven't played with mostly NFL head coaches. So that's a positive right there. So
it's big time positive, big time. What do you think about Julio Jones and Kyle Rudolph? How excited are you, especially with the Jones being signed here? Get it? A lot of people saying, 33 years old, hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of years. But look, if he could stay healthy, that's another weapon, especially in the red zone there. Those big guys, a Julio Jones, a Mike Evans. I mean, that's a nightmare to cover if he's healthy.
Right. And that's the thing, Peter. I think Jones and Rudolph are one of those, they're low risk, high reward kind of signings.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, okay, no big deal. But if it does, with Rudolph and Jones being both red zone specialists, I mean, all the better, and you're not spending a lot of money on these guys either. So it just adds more weapons for Tom Brady. And I get it. Did we absolutely need a wide receiver? Probably not, but you can't take away the experience.
Well, you can't take away the experience, but you don't know what Chris Godwin's health is. And then at the end of the day, look, you got Tyler Johnson, who I'm high on. I've been able to interview him when he was with Minnesota at the Outback Bowl. I like the kid, but he hasn't been able to develop. Scotty Miller can't stay on the field. Jalen Darden looked like he was lost last year. He looked like a rookie. Cyril Grayson showed flashes of brilliance, but you're not going to get into that situation. And that's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have basically told you with getting a Jones signed. They're not going to go into this season, losing wide receivers and being down to, like JC said, a Pewter report, Cam Brate playing wide receiver. They want to be stocked up. They want to have plenty of depth. And look, if you get a Julio Jones, who at some points in his career was one of the top wide receivers in all of the league for $6 million, kick those tires. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, I think, fans sometimes they're like, oh, another wide receiver.
Right.
Too much. But what you're saying is correct. Look at injuries. You never know.
Killed them last year. How detrimental, Leo Word, was losing a Chris Godwin in that Saints game. That offense was not the same. You lost the chucklehead in Antonio Brown. That hurts you because he came in his first game and had 100-yard receiving. And then after that, he was, quit the team. So that position hurts you last year. Get it? Tristan Wirfs is a big-time injury before the Rams game. But those wide receivers, and when you're getting down to guys like Tyler Johnson, who hasn't been able to develop, Scotty Miller, who can't stay healthy, Jalen Darden. I mean, Grayson played well when he got the opportunity, but everybody else, no. So why take the chance at the end of the day? It kind of goes back to the line of Casino, right? I mean, the guy says, what was it? He's saying to all the mob bosses, this guy's good. He's a good guy. Guy goes, why even take the chance? Just off him.
Yeah,
and they end up offing him. So, I mean, why take the chance at that point if you got the opportunity to get a wide receiver who, again, is just removed a couple years ago from being one of the best in the NFL? Go and do it.
Right. And by the way, rest in peace to Mr. Paul Serrano.
I'm telling you, what is up with all the mobsters passing away? You lost him. Jeez. I mean, I get it. They're old, but they're all passing away at the same time. Jeez.
I know.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, as far as the wide receivers, like you said, it's all about depth. You want to be protected. And with Tom Brady right now, you're on a Super Bowl run. There's no time to I mean, yeah, it could hurt guys like Grayson and Johnson as far as development, but again, we're a Super Bowl team. Type of team that's going to win it now. So you're going to have to make those sacrifices. And look, I'm okay with it. We're in contention. We're in contention right now. So whatever we have to do this year, it's for Tom Brady because it may be his last. Who knows?
Maybe his last year. What's the biggest weakness right now? I'm going to ask you this question again when you call the show because I know you're not going to be a stranger on the sports web. What is your biggest weakness right now with this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team? What's your biggest concern?
I think I mentioned in the comments earlier, it's the left guard.
Left guard, okay.
Because Marquette, him retiring that, and I get it, health reasons, and good for him. He deserves it. I just think, you're having somebody new there next to Donovan Smith too. So, it's interesting. I mean, that's a weak spot in August. I think that's our really only weak spot. I really do. The left guard. Then he's good. He's solid, but he hasn't played enough. So, hopefully they can develop that chemistry. And again, that's that left guard, that left tackle that protects Brady's blind side. So, that's very, very vital.
Absolutely. Very vital to this team. You're absolutely right. All right. Good stuff, my friend. Thanks a lot for the call. Let me go ahead and give you the Ric Flair. Really quick. I know you're a wrestling fan. What were your thoughts on Vince stepping aside and Triple H taking the reins and now WWE going to TV 14? I'll tell you right now, I watched Raw Monday night. I was entertained.
Yeah. Raw, I thought the pacing was better. I want, as wrestling fans, we got to realize something. This isn't going to happen overnight. This is going to take months and months to get characters developed, storylines going. It's going to take it's a rebuild, like in football, like in sports. It's a rebuild a little bit. You always for years were under the, it was the buck stopped with Vince, but now you got a guy like Triple H running creative. Kevin Dunn's out, Vince's top guy. He's out. Pritchard's staying on for now. I think maybe Pritchard might be gone eventually, but I think Hunter's going to keep him around to learn, have that experience of what to do, how to run a show. It's going to take some time, Peter. I'm optimistic. SummerSlam I'm going to watch it.
I am too. It's giving me optimism at this point. I'm kind of looking to see if, and I'm surprised you didn't see it the other night, Dominic Mysterio turn on his spot. I don't know if I want to see that. I don't like that storyline. I never liked that storyline with Ric Flair and David Flair and WCW. I'm not sure if I like where a father and son turn on each other, but it certainly seems like it may be happening, or WWE is kind of planting the seeds, if you will, for it to hapen. But
that's okay.
Right.
I mean, you got to plant those seeds, you just never know. And I think with Hunter, look at what he did at NXT. Now it's different. He's got to run 2 shows now, not just one.
Sure.
And he was with the network. It was on WWE Network at the time. So there's going to be some things that Hunter can't control because of the TV networks, the advertisers and stuff. But I think he's going to at least give wrestlers opportunities and not have scripted promos as much. I hate those things.
I hate it too. I hate script. I hate all that scripted stuff.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, Monday night, to me, Austin Theory seems like he's going to be the next guy. They're going to try to push him because you've heard all the rumors come out there about Roman Reigns going to Hollywood, as he's very talented, of course, being the cousin of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. I think his last match could be against Cody Rhodes. Of course, Rhodes winning an ESPY about a week ago, which was awesome in itself. But
that was
Austin Theory to me is being pushed as the next guy. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he cashes in that money in the bank and you're looking at a champion on Saturday, as crazy as it sounds.
No, Peter, I actually agree with you. Why not do that? Why not give it a try? Give it a try.
Right.
You don't know until you try it, and maybe and cash it in on a Roman. Maybe it turns Roman babyface. You never know. I mean, I don't see Brock coming back for a while.
Yeah, I think Roman needs to be a heel. He's a great heel, but that storyline has run its course at this point. And if the rumors are true that he wants to go to Hollywood, then if you're WWE, you've got to start planning for the future and getting a guy that is going to be the face, much like, a John Cena, right? I mean, you had The Rock at the time and you had Stone Cold. Stone Cold was dealing with injuries. The Rock was going to Hollywood. So you had to build new stars. You had to have a Brock Lesnar at the time. You had to have a John Cena. Of course, Triple H being the veteran with Evolution as is stable, Ric Flair and Batista and Randy Orton. You have to build that. And that is what, in my opinion, WWE doesn't do enough. They don't build these younger guys. And I think that's the exciting thing with Triple H. He knows how the business is run. He's gone through the business. So he's going to be able to build these superstars up to where they can, transcend to possibly Hollywood. But it's going to make this organization and this professional business that much better, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, Peter. You have to build for the future. You can't keep bringing guys like Brock and Goldberg. They're going to age.
They are aged. They're already aged. I mean, you ruined Bray Wyatt with Goldberg. Again, it's a great story. He beats Bray Wyatt, but it's not good for storylines. It's not good for young wrestlers that you're trying to get over. Good stuff, Ben Cornette. Let me give you the woo. Woo! Appreciate the call, and definitely don't be a stranger here on the Evolution, all right?
All right, Peter. Thanks for having me on, man. Have a good night.
Yep, you too, buddy. Good stuff there by Ben Cornette in Las Vegas, as you can feel it in the air. All right, let's go out to Mr. Ed from Palm Harbor, a neighbor of mine. Welcome to the Evolution. Long time no hear. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I've been terrible.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I hope this show brings a smile to your face. What's on your mind?
The show has been great tonight, man.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I wanted to call up and definitely congratulate you on your new gig, man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I really do. It's fans like you that make this show go, and we've met before and done shows together, so I really appreciate that, dude. I really do.
That's not a problem, man. Anytime you need me, I'll be there. But nobody talks about this, but the kick and punt returning has been an eyesore for probably the past, 3 or 4 years.
Well, a couple years here. That Super Bowl year, Ryan Suckup was pretty accurate. I think 90% after Matt Gay. And it's interesting you should say that, because I actually got an interview with Martin Gramatica. I don't know if you saw it or not. Have you seen that interview?
A little bit of it, but I was talking about the return guys.
The return guys. Well, yeah, that has not been good. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are they doing anything to try to fix that, or?
Well, it's going to either be a Jalen Darden. It could be somebody else that we don't know about. I mean, you would think that they're going to address that situation, but I think Jalen Darden at this point could be the player that they're looking at. And honestly, if Darden wants to make this team, or any wide receiver at this point wants to make the team, they're going to have to do it with special teams, because you have so much depth in that room.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. I think they made a really good move getting Jones. That was definitely a good move. And I'm with that other guy. I can't wait to see White play. I think he's going to be exciting. Probably see a lot of them in preseason.
Yep. Rashard White. Yep. I mean, that's a good thing about preseason. You're going to get a chance to see Kyle Trask, who I know a lot of fans want to see what he can do, even though it's preseason. You want to see that development. You want to see a second year out of this kid. And if he is the future of your team, you want to see those flashes of brilliance, and you also want to see these rookies do something. But you got to keep it in perspective, right? I'm all about perspective. You're playing against second and third stringers, but again, you got to put it on the field, and they're going to get the opportunity to do that. So that's going to be.
What do you think about Trash? Did you get a chance to watch him today, or?
I didn't get a chance to watch him. I wasn't out there. It was off. But I will get an opportunity, and I'll tell you what I think. But I do feel like, look, if you invest a second-round pick in a quarterback, he's going to be eventually your future starter. Now, with that being said, could this organization sour on him and say, you know what, he's not showing enough? in the film room, he's not showing enough physically, he's not getting over, and then change course? Absolutely. But I feel like right now, just knowing football and watching it for so many years, you invest a second-round pick in a player like a Kyle Trask, eventually he's going to be your future quarterback. Just my opinion.
Well, I liked him when he was at Florida.
I do too, but the NFL is different. It's not
Yep.
college defenses. Everybody can run a 4-3 and a 4-4. You don't have guys on that team that are not NFL ready. That's what you have in college. Not taking away from college. SEC is the best college football conference in all the land. But yeah, it's totally different. It's a transition process, and we'll see what he does in camp. And of course, that'll be one of the storylines we cover here on the Evolution.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it for me, my friend. I've been sick, so I'm gonna.
All right, well, get
here.
better, get better. The sports web is just starting up again. I get it. I'm at CW44. I didn't forget about my webheads. I didn't forget about you, my friend. What do you think about Julio Jones signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Are you excited about that?
I think it's a good move.
Okay.
I think he's going to do well here. I think Brady is going to get more out of him. I think he's going to. I think because he doesn't have to be the either first or second or third guy, he's going to be available more often.
Right.
He's not going to have that pressure to have to play 40 plays a game.
Exactly what I say too. Exactly. You preserve
I think he's going to
him.
be.
Yes.
I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be good. I think this is going to be a good, exciting season. And I'm glad that that people are saying the Bucs are going to run the ball more because they really need to. They got to protect Brady, and I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm going to let you go.
All right, my friend. Thanks a lot. Let me go ahead and give you the Ric Flair. Appreciate the call. As always, get better, all right? Get some honey and tea there, all right? Honey, tea, and lemon. I hate when that happens. I hate when I lose my voice. I can't talk. You get sick, you get congested, you get all nasally and everything, and then you try to talk and you can't do it. So tell you what, let's go out to this interview from Martin Gramatica on his new job with the Tampa Bay Strikers, the indoor soccer league here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go. How are you feeling about the new job here with the Tampa Bay Strikers?
Oh, I'm so excited. First of all, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to coach at this level, and then to get a call from Andrew and then to have it work out, I couldn't be happier.
Why now with the Strikers? I mean, a lot of people would say, why not coach in the NFL? Why soccer?
Well, I've been coaching youth soccer for the last 15 years in the area. I've seen the growth in soccer. I've been able to watch my kids grow up through soccer, and that's what my passion. I grew up playing soccer, so I played soccer way before I played football. So I've been a lot more involved in the soccer world than the football as far as coaching. So when this opportunity came, I couldn't pass it up just because I love the growth that we're seeing in the Tampa Bay area. And also when speaking to one of the owners with Andrew was saying, we want to keep the talent local. We want to, have our players locally play on our team here for the Strikers. So that to me was a big incentive because I see how many kids are great players that are either not going to play college because they're staying to work or staying to go to local schools. So this gives them an opportunity to stay local and play at a high level.
Because you've kicked in the NFL and you've won a Super Bowl, do you think you have an advantage with local talent?
No, this is soccer, so it has nothing to do with football. I think for me, we just got to put the best team to go out and win. That's what I'm here to do. I don't look at what I did in the past. Any of those things don't matter what we're doing in the future. I just want to, put a good team together. The ownership group is great. We've getting to know them a little bit now. We haven't known each other long, but hopefully they get to know the way I coach, the way I am as well, and it works because I want to do this for a long time.
What's the typical Martin Gramatica type of player that you like to have on your team? What kind of characteristics are you looking for in your future players here for the Strikers?
You always look, obviously, for the skillful player, especially when it's the indoor. You're going to need quick feet and good touch. But I like strong, aggressive players that never quit. And that's one of the things I learned. And that's one of the things I bring from football to soccer is like we never quit. That Buccaneers team, that I played for, that defense and the offense, we just never quit. And that's why we were able to win a Super Bowl. So I want hardworking players. At the end of the day, I'll take a hardworking player than a talented player that doesn't want to run. So we're going to find hardworking players with skills here.
All right. Now, you were talking about being under a coach like a Tony Dungy, who's a Hall of Fame coach. What do you take from him? What was the biggest thing that you learned from Dungy?
Well, Dungy is no excuses, no explanations. So basically, you got to own up for your mistakes, and you got to be accountable. You got to be responsible. You got to be part of the team and create a family. And that's one of the things that Tony Dungy did for us. He created a family where every guy, we loved each other. We were best friends. Everybody cared about each other, and then you got to flip the switch. When you cross the line, you've got to be a dog, like they say. You got to be a different person. And I always say, look at like a guy like John Lynch, Derek Brooks, Mike Allstott, those are great guys, but I would never want to play against them, So I love them on my team, but not on the. Never want to be an opponent. So that's the type of player that I want. Guys, good guys in the community, great guys off the field, but then when we get on the field, we got to flip that switch and compete.
You talk about competing, talk about Derek Brooks. He's involved in the community. Any opportunity to recruit those guys to help you out with the strikers in some way, possibly in recruitment or come to more games, anything like that?
We all stick together, we all help each other with our own charities. We go to each other's charity events. So it always, absolutely. I've had some teammates reach out to me wanting, to help out with the strength and conditioning. I just don't know yet how the staff is going to be or how much staff I can bring in. But if I could bring every one of my teammates, because I know they know how to win. They know how to teach, and that would be ideal. But at the end of the day, we have to find the people here as well that can help us. But as far as old teammates, we all help each other out. And I've had a bunch of them reach out to me and congratulate me, which that means a lot too, that they're following what we're doing on the soccer. A lot of them are involved still in the football. So I'm excited that they're excited for me.
What players have reached out to you?
Well, I had a bunch, man. I don't want to miss any, but I had a bunch of them that I've gotten texts from all day since the announcement till even now. So I don't want to name names because then I'll forget one. But a bunch of my former teammates have reached out.
What is your message to fans out there who are not familiar with this indoor soccer league? What's your message for them with this team, of course, living up to Tampa Bay?
Well, definitely. That's the thing. We're going to compete. That's the one thing. I'm going to put a team that's going to compete. But also, if you love the excitement of hockey, that's what this type of soccer is. It's very fast paced. The rules are similar to hockey, where you have the power play, you sub on the fly. So if you like that fast speed, energy type of game, this is what we're going to bring, and that's what indoor soccer brings. So yeah, it's different than sitting outside in the heat as well. In Florida watching an 11v11 game, where a lot of the American fans don't like the fact that it's a low scoring game. Now, when you go to the indoor soccer, it's a much more higher scoring game because you're playing smaller field and it's quicker and there's much more opportunity to score. So it's if you love hockey, you'll love indoor soccer.
All right, so welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. That was Martin Gramatica, of course, the new coach of the Tampa Bay Strikers. Now, did you think that I was just going to allow him to talk soccer and not talk some football here? You don't know me that well, obviously. I asked him about the kicking competition expectations in 2022. So we'll go back out to the second part of this interview, and then we'll wrap it up for the night unless we get some calls here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television live on I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. Enjoy.
Well, I know he's a very good kicker because if not, the Bucs wouldn't have kept him all year on practice squad and wouldn't have hid him from other teams. When the Tennessee Titans came to town, he didn't kick at all because they didn't want anybody to know how good he was. So apparently the Bucs think he's a good kicker. He did a great job in college. So he is a talented kicker, young kicker. That's where I think Ryan Succop has the advantage. When Tom Brady came back, you cannot afford to lose games to tight games, and we don't know how Borregales will react in a game situation in an active game where we know what Ryan Succop can do. But two excellent kickers, and I've gotten to know both of them, and just phenomenal guys as well. So just wish them the best.
Who do you think eventually may win out? Is it Borregales, or do you think it could be Succop?
It's too early to tell. You have to see training camp and see how they do in camp, and then obviously the preseason. But I think the advantage usually goes to the veteran when you have a quarterback like Tom Brady, where you cannot afford to lose games. That's why Matt Gay's not here.
Right.
If we had just an average quarterback and you were just rebuilding, Matt Gay would be our kicker still, and he had a phenomenal year. Went to the Pro Bowl last year, ended up winning a Super Bowl for the Rams. But we just didn't have the luxury to question if we were going to have a great kicker. He was still growing into his role. So that's where I believe the veteran may have an advantage, but you have a phenomenal young kicker with a strong leg as well. So that's a tough call for the Bucs.
2 final questions, and I'll get you out of here on this. Were you surprised that the Bucs invested a 4th-round pick in a Jake Carmada out of Georgia? What were your thoughts on that? And then secondly, why is it such a tough transition? You did well with being a mid-round pick. A lot of people say you shouldn't draft a kicker, but the Bucs do that. Why is it so tough for kickers to transition over from the college game to the NFL level?
Well, first on drafting an opponent in fourth round, if you're going to draft an opponent in 4th round, you obviously expect him to be your punter for the year, and that's why we don't have Pinion, even though Pinion did a phenomenal job, especially on kickoffs. I mean, he was booming the kickoffs out of the end zone pretty much every time. But at times you have to go younger and cheaper, and I think that's the route the Bucs were going with that position. And as far as transitioning from the NFL, from high school or from college to the NFL with kicking, I think the biggest thing is a mental game. Because a lot of times in college football, you're up by 21, 28 points. So if you miss a kick, it's not that big of a deal. The NFL, every game's close. So every kick matters even more. So I think a lot of times the kickers struggle with that. And I know it happened to Aguayo here in Tampa where it was all mental. It had nothing to do with physical. And then it became physical where he couldn't kick. But it started with the mental side of it. And when you start putting too much pressure on yourself, and now you're not only that, you're drafted at high. Now the expectations are even higher. So that's the thing. When you draft a kicker in a high round, there's a lot more expectation there if you're a free agent. If you're a free agent, the team will let you go and then you find your way. And if you're a free agent, you know that if you mess up a couple kicks, you're going to be gone. Now, when you get drafted, you feel like you have that little buffer, that little comfort zone where, they can't cut me. They paid me a lot of money and they drafted me, so I have a little bit of a chance. And you may get a little bit lackadaisical. And that may be what could have happened to Aguayo. But I feel like I said, if it wasn't that Tom Brady came to town, obviously it was a great move because we won the Super Bowl. Matt Gay will still be our kicker because you give him that year or two to develop when you draft somebody in the 4th round, like we did with Matt. So I think that the pressure being drafted high as a kicker is not easy because the expectations are high right away.
Were you happy to see Matt Gay not only win a Super Bowl, but you'll basically eliminate the Bucs at that point, being a kicker, kickers being a fraternity in the National Football League? Were you happy for Gay?
I'm happy we won the Super Bowl. I'm not happy that he eliminated the Bucs, obviously. I mean, come on, that's right. My team. I didn't want to lose to the Rams. But once they beat us here, then I wanted the Rams to win for Matt Gay because he's a very nice guy. I got to meet him a little bit. We still stay in touch via text and messaging. So very nice guy, very humble. So I really like the kid. So I was happy that he won the Super Bowl. I was not happy that he beat us with a field goal.
You talk about expectations. I get it. Training camp is starting tomorrow. Sky's the limit for this team. Big time pressure, big time expectations for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2022.
Well, I think you probably feel the pressure of maybe being Tom Brady's last year, even though he said that he could probably play till he's 45, or he's 45 now, till he's 50. He could play another 4 or 5 years, but it's pretty clear that this might be his last year, especially retiring and unretiring. So I feel like the team will feel that pressure knowing that this is it. If we don't win it now, then we don't have Tom Brady anymore. So they may feel that pressure. But as far as positions, you've got the talent everywhere. We've brought back some very important players that were re-signed, brought some added players. I feel like we could miss Gronk, because that's Tom's security blanket. And I have a feeling that, if the team starts to do well, maybe we'll see him mid-season join the team and win another ring with us.
All right, so welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So there you go. Martin Gramatica talking about the kicking competition, because that's going to be one of the things you're going to have to watch this year in camp. And you can laugh all you want to, but we know how important a field goal kicker is. And Ryan Suckup maybe feeling a little bit of pressure from Jose Borregales. He may be. And then, of course, the Bucs invest a 4th-round pick in a Jake Carmada from Georgia. So he's going to be their punter. And they want to improve that. They want to improve every aspect of their team. That's what they do. That's what they're going to go after this year, with Tom Brady possibly playing in his last year. It is Super Bowl or bust. You've heard me say that before. I'll say it again. I'll fire the cannons. That's what it's going to be this year. So are you excited about Julio Jones? Are you excited about Kyle Rudolph? Do you like the direction this team is going? Could they sign more? We'll have you covered here live on I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports on the Sports Web. Definitely like and subscribe on YouTube. Of course, like I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And of course, tune in to CW44 on a nightly basis, because you never know, you may see this mug on it. Thanks a lot to all the guests we had tonight. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Definitely check out his broadcast there. Of course, JC Allen of Pewter Report, and the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. We'll be back soon. definitely check us out here. Not necessarily here on I Love St. Pete. Check us out on I Love St. Pete, but 1252 Chicago Sports, the over-under with the host with the most, Mr. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire. We will be live on Friday night, 8:30, 8:45. So definitely check that out and do 3 things for me here on the first day of training camp. Yes, football fans, football is back. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.